Chapter 39:11. Trial Taker. The Dead Sea's trees were even more powerful, and there were more of them. After all, no one had ever entered this place before. Clang, clang, clang. Although Lin Ling's strength did not increase, he had many treasures in his hands. Relying on his defense, he was not afraid of being devoured by the trees. A huge flower bud suddenly rushed out from the sea. Then, the petals closed, and like a huge mouth, it swallowed Lin Ling. Bang, bang, bang. Soon, the flower bud exploded as if it was struck by lightning. A young man in blue armor walked out slowly with two swords in his hands. He was Lin Ling. Looking at his appearance, he was completely unscathed. Lin Ling roared into the sky. With the fusion of talents, his strength increased greatly. Slash. Slash. He slashed with the two swords in his hands. On the ground, the Dead Sea suddenly rolled, and countless plants were cut down. Then Lin Ling shot towards the Dead Sea. Sword light flashed, and the Dead Sea was stirred up into a mess. Large amounts of plant debris flew up into the sky. However, there were too many trees in the Dead Sea. They swam along the sea. Looking from the sky, it was black and constantly wriggling. It made one's scalp tingle. Seeing this, Lin Ling floated up and slowly put away the two swords. A mysterious translucent talisman suddenly appeared in his left hand. The talisman was carved with mysterious runes, but it emitted a terrifying aura. The aura was so strong that it was the power of the steps of the gods. Moreover, it was even more terrifying than Lin Ling's steps of wisdom. The unrestrained sword alliance. This was the second most powerful divine weapon, with a name list. The curse of the gods. May I ask which overlord you belong to and who is backing you? Wisdom. The old man said after calming the young man down. Lin Ling carefully looked at the mysterious runes in his hand. Oh my God! Finally, he gently patted the Dead Sea. Without a sound, the young man was not as calm as the old silent. He pointed at the desolate trees, became motionless. I am alone. All of the power I don't have any overlord. Even the ocean of death was sealed. Lin Ling's gaze fell on the world list in the young man's hand. What a powerful curse! He did not seem to have a stronger than my steps of wisdom. Of course, if I had one, Ling looked at the Dead Sea below him and gasped. Lin Ling walked forward step by step. It was truly a terrifying sigil. So arrogant, even though you don't have anyone backing you. It was. Kid, it was actually able to compress the divine stairs into a curse. After hearing Lin Ling's words, in the next moment, the old man's face turned palm appeared. The worry in his heart disappeared completely. With his world essence. His white hair suddenly stood up. God energy from the heavenly dragon bone entered his palm. His palm became redder and redder. Someone immediately recognized that there was actually a Buddha that appeared there. That was a martial god, mysterious and profound. The old man did not say anything and immediately pounced on Lin Ling. Scripture, heavenly his speed was extremely fast. 6 paths of 10,000 movement, he looked controlling like an evil ghost and pouncing on him. Lin Ling slammed his palm into the ocean of death, looking at the old man's pouncing on him. The 6 paths to move. Suddenly smiled. On the other hand, he did not expect Lin Ling had already arrived from this young man and was looking down at him. Lin Ling did not hold that. The young man had been the ocean of death had already exploded. After witnessing jellyfish, a gigantic Buddha with his own eyes appeared. He was so scared that he didn't several thousand miles wide. Give it to me. No longer affected by Lin Ling said calmly. When the crimson palm ghost was also found, all the water in the ocean of death flowed back. He thought that when he saw the desolate trees below in his hand, that he immediately everything turned also nothing. After Lin Ling's talent, he's always been known for its craftiness. However, he didn't underestimate me. Instead, he looked into the indeed a top-notch divine ability of mythology approaching from afar. The power of God and closer inspection 20% range. A giant green-faced demon had been excited apart from this was also the others also had tested the power of this divine ability. And the result had undoubtedly shocked someone exclaimed from the looks of it. Your still chances of winning a battle played tricks in front of me. For the young man unfortunately, with my heavenly dragon bone naturally noticed again in the distance. Coupled with he didn't even look behind him and as if he had seen a light with even stronger. Then, almost glared at time, currently said, many of his techniques were very high level divine abilities and martial arts here. Even the martial god is here. Bodhi testimony destroyed technique from the green face. Your dead calamity destroyed end of his golden white ghost. In addition, he still had the unactivated tyrannical because she didn't expect and the true wearing a sword. More importantly, he was a member of the Natural Sword Alliance weapon-type treasure.
Two-handed sword appeared
Someone
again
recognized
and
the
let go of
gloves
him
and
destroyed our chariot.
As for the golden white also helped the Natural Sword Alliance.
transformed into a huge forest,
causing him to be
killing
was
even
even
faster
He
than
held a
Lin
green
Ling's.
bamboo sword
After
in his
a long
hand
time,
and was as graceful as an immortal.
appeared on Lin Ling's
Soon
shoulder
he
and
landed
shook
on
its
the ground
vines at Lin Ling,
Brother,
looking
the
extremely
young
happy.
man from before
Your
even
strength has
shouted at
also
that person.
greatly increased.
The person nodded
Thank
and looked
you
at
for
Lin
this
Ling.
period of time.
Which overlord
After
do you belong
finishing
to?
this business,
Obviously,
we should also
he had also
stop.
guessed that this person
Lin
was
Ling
so
stroked
arrogant.
little Kunlun
He was
and said
afraid
with
that
a
he
faint
had some
smile.
background. The large
Moreover,
area of
this
golden
person was still
flower
calm
in
when
the
he saw
ancient
the
Dragon
natural sword
Desolate Land
alliance.
had been mostly
Therefore,
harvested.
unless this
The
person was a
remaining
fool,
area was
he
about
had
100,000 in
confidence
size,
in himself.
and Lin Ling was
That's
no
right.
longer interested
I'm
in
the
it.
one who let go
Therefore,
of your
he
mounts
planned
and
to
destroyed your
immediately head to
chariot.
God's store
All right,
after
I also
harvesting the
stole your
golden
nameless
fleece flower in the
What do you
Dead Sea.
think?
Because
Lin
he
Ling
also
looked
knew
at him
that the
calmly
golden
and
fleece
nodded.
flower had
Yes,
a
sir.
time limit.
He admitted
If
it
all the
directly.
treasures in God's store
However,
were bought,
in the
then
eyes
no
of the
matter
people
how
of the
many
Natural
golden
Sword
fleece flowers
Alliance,
he had,
this
it
nod
would be
was
useless.
undoubtedly ignoring
For
them.
example, the
Arrogant.
curse of gods from
Too
before
arrogant.
had been bought by Lin Ling.
Unfortunately, they
However,
didn't know that
if
Lin
he was a
Ling
bit
was
slower,
the number
he
one
was
leader
afraid
of the
that it
God
would have been
Slayer
snatched
Alliance.
away by others.
Therefore, he
It was
didn't
a
need to lower
competition
his
of
head
whose
when
speed was
facing
the
the
Natural
Natural
Sword Alliance.
You
Moreover,
are the third
the
person to
Natural
come to
Sword
the empty
Alliance
spirit
was in the
dead
wrong
sea.
first. Just as
They
Lin
drove
Ling
the
was about to
chariot
harvest,
recklessly.
three figures
If
suddenly
Lin Ling
appeared
wasn't
in the
strong
sky.
enough, he would have been
Smiling at
killed.
Lin Ling
Therefore,
frowned.
Lin Ling
Someone?
destroyed the chariot.
Lin Ling couldn't
This
help
was
but look
already
over
giving
and
them
realize
face.
that the three
If it
people
had
were
been
very
someone else
strong.
from the God Slayer Alliance,
However, what
they might have
surprised
even
Lin Ling
killed
was
him.
that these three people were wearing
Good.
very ordinary clothes, as if they were
So,
passers-by.
you insist on
This
going
also
against
gave
the
Lin
Natural
Ling a
Sword
sense
Alliance?
of familiarity.
Fine, I'll
He seemed
fulfill
to have
your wish.
seen this kind of
That
ordinariness
person was
before.
so angry that he
the
laughed.
first person to arrive
Obviously,
here,
he
looked
didn't
at the
expect
shore
Lin
of the
Ling
Dead
to be
Sea
so
for a long
arrogant.
time.
He
and
even thought
finally
that
left.
Lin Ling was joking.
The second person to
However,
arrive here,
Lin Ling
he
flew
flew
across
across the Dead
told
Sea
him that this
sky,
wasn't a
but
joke.
in the end, he was
My
entangled
lord has
by
given
the
the order.
endless barren trees.
And he
However,
also left
just as
in the
that
end.
person was about
And
to
you,
explode,
the
a
third
dignified
person to
voice
reach this
suddenly
place
sounded.
The person who
Then
destroyed
the crowd was
70%
separated.
of the Dead Sea's
A middle-aged
desolate
man
trees.
in ordinary clothes
However,
walked out
it isn't
slowly
easy
with
for
a
the
long
desolate
sword
trees of
hanging
the
at his
ocean of
waist.
death to grow.
His temperament
If
was
you kill them
simple
like
and
this,
unsophisticated.
aren't you afraid of being
His
punished
every
by
move
God?
gave people
The
the
three of
feeling
them
that he was like a
smiled as they
green
spoke.
mountain and
Their
clear
words
water.
were filled with arrogance.
That's the natural sword,
None of your
martial
business.
God. However, when
Lin
people
Ling
stared
also
at the middle-aged
smiled and
man,
reprimanded
their
him.
expressions changed drastically.
Hearing this, the three
nine
people were
provinces,
tongue-tied.
10 martial
This
gods.
guy actually
They
scolded
didn't
them?
expect that the
They couldn't
matter
help
of the
but be
immortal
stunned
temple
because when a
sanctus
normal
would
person
attract
saw
the
them,
10
they
martial
would
gods.
definitely be
The
cautious
natural
and
sword
respectful.
martial god
Who would
stopped
be so
walking
rude
quickly.
like this kid?
He put his hands behind his back
are
and
you
looked
looking
at
for
Lin
death?
Ling indifferently.
One of them was angry.
Similarly,
He
Lin
narrowed
Ling
his
looked at
eyes
him
and looked
indifferently at Lin
In
Ling.
an instant,
An
Senior brother,
indescribable
don't
aura
waste
filled
time
the
with him.
air as if the
Teach
sword
him a
auras
lesson.
of two
The
peerless
other two
swordsmen were
obviously
colliding.
couldn't hold back
This
and wanted to
invisible
attack
pressure made the
immediately.
experts at
They
the
looked
peak of the
slightly
martial
older than
ancestor
Lin Ling,
realm
but their
feel
strength
like they
was
were suffocating
suffocating.
Lin Ling's.
Even the
They were
experts at the
comparable to the
half-step
martial
martial
god
states
realm
10
found
martial
it
gods.
difficult to breathe.
This kind of
The
strength,
people of the natural
even in the
sword
final
alliance
world,
were
was an
laughing coldly
extremely
at this
terrifying
moment.
existence.
However, Lin Ling was not afraid at all. A wisp of
Chapter
smoke suddenly
39,
appeared in his
25.
hand, and then
A
he
clash
ignited
between
it and
two
burned
swordsmen,
it, forming a
the
thick
prestige
smoke
of the
that filled
10
the
great
air.
martial gods
The three
was
people were about to
unquestionable.
attack Lin
In
Ling.
fact, but after
Based on
smelling
Lin
the
Ling's
smoke,
previous
their
actions,
expressions
not to
changed
mention the
greatly.
unrestrained sword
Damn,
alliance,
isn't
even
this
the
the Lord's
passers-by
tobacco?
felt that Lin Ling was doomed.
What's going on?
You stole my
The
name
three
list?
people were in
Finally,
disbelief.
the unrestrained
Your senior
sword
sister,
martial god
Sister
spoke.
Tsuhua,
His
gave it to
voice
me.
was calm
Of
as if he
course,
was talking
your
to a
lord,
friend. That old man
However,
Kurishin
he did recognize
probably
Lin
also
Ling
knows
because
about
he had
this.
witnessed how powerful Lin Ling was during the battle at the
Chapter
mine not long ago.
39:12.
In the end,
last stroke.
he had even seen
Previously,
Lin Ling
he was
being
still
taken
wondering
away
where
by
he
the
had seen
heavenly
these
voice
people's
of God.
clothes before.
He still
Later
remembered
on,
that he
he
had
remembered
angered a Yuan
wasn't this
venerate
the
martial
Kurishin
god to
side?
death. Therefore,
However,
he didn't
immediately
expect to
guess
meet
that
Lin
these
Ling
three three
here.
people were the
Moreover,
trial takers.
Lin Ling actually
Speaking of
snatched
which,
his
the
subordinate's
trial
name
takers
list
were
right
really
in front
elusive.
of him.
He
The
had no
ancient
choice
dragon
but to show
wasteland
up.
was in deep
They
water
wanted
and
to
they
hit
were
me,
nowhere to
so
be
I
seen.
wanted to teach them a
He
lesson
also did
and
not know
collect
what
some
mission
interest.
the old Kurishin
That's
had
why I
arranged
took
for
his
them.
name.
Kurishin, that
Lin
old
Ling
man,
nodded calmly.
He knew
you
that the
dare to
unrestrained
insult the
sword
Lord.
martial god was
Junior
not
brother,
angry on the surface,
don't be rash.
but in reality,
This guy
a
has the Lord's
terrifying
tobacco.
aura was surging
He probably
toward him.
knows the Lord.
Because the tyrannical song sword in
just
his
him?
hand was slightly
The
vibrating.
three people were
He was
still looking
provoked
at
by
Lin
the
Ling
unrestrained
foolishly.
sword martial
That's
god
right,
sword.
I know your family's
However,
Lord.
it was also
Furthermore,
because of this
I
that
fished in your
tyrannical
family for
singing
3
sword's
months.
arrogance was
Your
ignited.
family's Lord also
Even
ate
if
my
a
fish for
swordsman's
3
strength
months
was
for
weaker
free.
than others,
I
he
haven't
would
settled
never
the
be
score with
afraid
him
of
yet.
an enemy. Lin Ling chuckled
and waved the tobacco in his hand. Martial deity
So it's one of us.
smiled and said, "May I know how
Fine.
to address
Since
you?
we are acquaintances,
Apologize,
the three people
and I will
rolled their
let
eyes.
bygones be
They
bygones."
were also shrewd people.
He could clearly sense
They knew
that the
that
current
Lin
Ling
must
must
have
have
more
more
than
than
twice
relationship
as
with the
strong as
Kirishim.
before.
Otherwise,
Furthermore,
with the
this was
Kirishin's
only
fierce
his
attitude towards
superficial
outsiders,
How
he
could he
couldn't
give
see
him
through
the
depths.
tobacco?
However,
Therefore,
as soon
they
as he
could not
finished
afford
speaking,
to offend such a
everyone's
person.
expression changed
Lin
greatly.
Lei Gong's
Let
trial
bygones
taker.
be bygones?
The
Lin
unfettered
did not
sword
hide
martial
anything.
god was too
So
easy
you're
to
Lin
talk
Ling.
to.
I've
Do you
long
think
heard
it's
of you.
possible?
However, the
Lin
three
Ling
people
shook
were
his
stunned
head.
for a moment.
Courting
Then
death.
they all burst
When
out
they heard
laughing.
these words,
Their
not
strength
only
was
were the
obviously
people of the
much stronger
Free-Sword
than Lin
Alliance
Ling,
cursing
that was
inwardly.
because they were
Even the
trial takers
bystanders
who had
cursing
completed
loudly.
more than 5
After
missions.
stealing someone
As
else's
for Lin
name
Ling,
list,
he
they
still
actually
only
had
dared
to
to
use
use
such a tone to
However,
speak.
Lin Ling's
Wasn't this
speed
just
of completing
courting death?
missions was very
The
fast.
unfettered sword
Therefore, they
martial
had all
god
heard of
instantly
Lin Ling.
frowned.
After
He had
chatting
not
for a
expected
while,
that Lin
the
Ling
three
would
of them
not
became
gain
familiar
familiar
with
with
Lin Ling.
Have you ever
After
seen a
drinking with
swordsman
them,
let go
Lin
of his
Ling
things after being
immediately
robbed?
asked about the other side of the ocean of
martial
death.
god's voice
However,
became gloomy.
when they mentioned
a
this,
gentle wind
their
started
expressions
blowing in the
turned
surroundings.
serious.
But when
They
it landed
told
on the
Lin Ling
ground,
that the
depths
depths
of the
Dead
Dead
Sea
Sea
was on the
immediately
other side
appeared.
of the Kayuan
That
River,
terrifying
and there
aura
were
made
indeed
everyone
dragons
take a
there.
step back
However,
immediately,
the Dragon
afraid
Clan
that they
was
would be
no
caught in the
small matter.
crossfire.
If a
Have you
human
ever
were to
seen a
enter,
swordsman
they would
surrender
definitely
and admit
die.
his mistake after
Lin
being
Ling
provoked?
quickly nodded,
But
Lin
Lin
Ling was tit
Gong's
for tat,
handwritten letter in his
clink.
hands.
As
So
soon as
he
these
wasn't
words
afraid.
fell, the
And when they
sword
heard that
world
Lin
finally
Ling was going to
erupted.
deliver the letter, moreover, it was for Lei
The sword
Gong.
at the waist
Those
of the
three people
unfettered
didn't try to
sword
persuade
martial
him
god
anymore.
was quietly
Instead,
unsheathed,
they
and
looked
when it
as
was
if
only
they
halfway
regretted
out,
not having
the
met
sharp
earlier.
sword light
They
caused
held
everyone
Lin
to
Ling's
close
arm
their
and said,
eyes.
"If anything
Because the
happens
sword
in the
world's
ancient
sharpness
dragon
was too
wasteland,
strong.
burn the smoke.
In the eyes
we will
of many,
immediately come
this
to
was
help
a
you."
matchless showdown
Obviously,
between
they
swordsmen.
knew that Lin Ling
Of
was
course,
important
it
in
was
Lei
still the
Gong's heart,
blue-robed young man
although
that caused
Lin Ling
everyone
was
to be
still weak at the
surprised.
moment.
He
Never
could
had
not
they
be
imagined that
underestimated
such a
in the
weak
future.
fellow would actually be
Thank
so
you,
arrogant
brothers.
and not retreat in the slightest.
Lin Ling
and he
naturally
even dared to
wouldn't reject
compete
this
with the
favor.
sword martial god.
Next,
the three of them had tasks
and that
to
was
do,
indeed the case.
so they quickly bid
Behind
farewell
Lin
and
Ling,
left. The true
after they
inheritance,
left, nether
Lin
swords
Ling
were
also
unsheathed.
released little Kunlun
They were also
and began to
halfway out.
crazily
A
excavate
great
the
battle
sea.
between
The
swordsmen
evil
was
ghost
about to break
jellyfish
out.
was like a fish
The
in
eyes
water
of the
in the ocean of
unfettered
death,
sword martial
constantly
god
weaving
flickered.
in and out.
Not only was he
This
not
is a
angry,
real
but
treasure
an
land.
imperceptible
Just here
light
alone,
of admiration
there are 10
flickered in
million
his
golden
eyes.
fleece flowers.
In fact,
during the
here,
battle in
30
Fengdu
million,
City, he had already
giant ghost,
greatly
we are
admired
going to be
Lin Ling.
rich.
Because
This is the
Lin
biggest
Ling had
fortune.
the temperament of a
Under
true
the continuous
swordsman.
excavation,
This kind
the
of
harvest
swordsman
of the
was like
golden
a fleece
sword.
flowers also
Then the
increased
unfettered
steadily.
sword martial
Finally,
god thought about
it
the
reached
matter of the heavenly
120
sound of
million.
God.
In
And then
addition
he thought
to
about
Lin
the
Ling's
mysterious
harvest,
aura
there were
on
a
Lin
total
Ling's
of
body.
170
Finally,
million.
he slowly
This
withdrew
made
his
Lin Ling,
sword,
who was
Forget
floating
it,
on the ocean
seeing
of
that
death,
you are still
completely
young,
stunned.
I will not argue
In
with
fact,
you.
he almost went
After
crazy.
the sword was withdrawn,
In the following trip
the
to God's
suffocating
shop,
sword
he was
world
going to
from before
crazily
instantly
loot.
disappeared.
After a long time,
Seeing that you
Lin
are
Ling
old,
took a deep
I will
look at the
spare you
ocean of
this
death
time.
and returned with a full
Seeing
load.
this, Lin
After
Ling
spending 2
smiled
hours,
faintly and
Lin
withdrew
Ling
his
once
true
again
inheritance
arrived at the
Nether
God
Swords.
Slayer Alliance's
Although
location.
he was currently no
At
match
this
for the
moment,
top
the
10
God
martial
Slayer
gods of the 9
Alliance was
prefectures,
clearing the
in
remaining
terms of
golden
trump cards,
fleece
he
flowers
was not
on the ground.
afraid of the top
When
10
the
martial
leaders saw
gods of the
Lin
9
Ling return,
prefectures.
they were all
Therefore,
smiling. He was not
during
afraid
this
of
period,
the unfettered
how is
sword
the
martial
ancient
god.
dragon wasteland?
Hearing Lin was
Ling's
also in a
words,
good mood,
the unfettered
but he still
sword
asked
martial
casually.
god could not help but
All
laugh
the
out
100
loud.
alliances
I
have
have
been
learned of your
absorbed
sharp
and
tongue
devoured
once again.
Among them,
Are you going
one
to
of
the
the 10
divine
overlords,
If
the
you are
land
going
of
the
eternal
same
rest,
way, let's
suffered
go
a
together.
huge blow.
Everyone
As you
left
wish,
the ancient
Lin
dragon
Ling nodded his
wasteland
head.
and was eliminated.
Then, the
10
unfettered
overlords
overlords
have
have
become
become
the
walked
9
forward with a
overlords.
smile and walked
One of the
side by
10
side with
overlords,
Lin Ling
the
towards
Freedom
the
Sword
ancient
Alliance
city.
and the
When
Northern
the people
Dragon
saw
Ice
the two
Nation
figures,
alliance
they
clashed,
were all
and
stunned.
both sides
What is
suffered
going
great
on?
losses.
Especially
Currently,
the young man
the
whose name was
strongest are the
snatched
Heaven
away by
Alliance and the Immortal Demon Alliance. He almost rubbed his eyes out. Originally, what did he just see? The Immortal Demon Alliance wasn't enough to be ranked second, of the but I heard that the Immortal Demon Alliance directly provoking the martial divine fetus body. In the end, he was safe and sound, and the rest spoke one after another. Previously, the martial god had already fought with that young man. However, we do not understand this kind of move. That was the alliance only that a true swordsman would understand. Now it was time to find her. The blue robe is I heard that simple. The divine fetus body exchanged for by the Immortal Demon Alliance, an old man is extremely powerful and has the power between swordsmen was different from an ordinary martial artist. The strength of both sides. Currently,
Sometimes
it has been snatched
they would
by
only
the
use
saints
one
of the
sword,
immortal temple,
and sometimes
therefore
they would
all
not
the
even
heroes
use their
of the major
sword.
forces want
Only
to
they
get
knew
close
who
to
would
the
win
saintess.
and who would lose.
This is because it is said
However,
that if they are
that young
lucky,
man is
they
quite
can
calm.
obtain the divine
Look,
fetus
he is
body
walking
through
together
dual
with the
cultivation with the
martial god and
saintess.
can actually talk
Lu
cheerfully.
Chen and the white-haired
Just
man
based
on
on
this
this
point
point
alone,
over from
we
afar
can't do
with
it.
smiles on their
Another
faces.
old man spoke up.
So powerful.
This caused many
Hearing
people
this,
in the
Lin Ling was
unfettered
shocked.
sword alliance
Then,
to look forward.
the corners of
On
his
the
mouth
main
curled
road,
into
Lin
an
Ling
evil
and
smile.
the unfettered
Dual
sword martial
cultivation.
god were almost putting their
It had
arms
been a
around
long
each other's
time
shoulders.
since he had dual
At this
cultivated
moment,
with senior
many young
Sistriu,
swordsmen in the
in Lin
unfettered
Ling's
sword
heart,
alliance
and
were
Yue
jealous because it was a
clearly
great
belonged to
honor
him.
to be able to
Lin
walk
Ling
together
had
with
the
the
confidence to do
unfettered
so,
sword martial
especially
god.
now that he had a
Hee-hee,
strong army,
didn't you leave
rich
with the heavenly
and
voice
powerful.
of God? Among the
Why
10
did you come
overlords,
to the ancient
Sky
dragon
Alliance
wasteland?
is still number one,
In
and
front
the
of the
Immortal
main
Demon
road,
Alliance
the
is number
unfettered
2.
sword martial
The
god
other
followed
overlords
Lin
have
Ling
either
forward.
retreated or
The
are
more
injured.
they talked,
I'm
the more
afraid
he
that
put
the
down
ancient
his
dragon
arrogance.
desolate land
It
will
was
be
as if the
divided
young
into
man in
3.
the blue robe beside
Next,
him was not
Lin
a
Ling
junior
lamented.
but a peer.
He knew
Most
that there must have
importantly,
been many
he
battles
realized
in
that
the
Lin
ancient
Ling's
dragon
calmness was
desolate
not
land.
an act,
Who
but
cares?
a pride that came from
Lin
the
Ling,
depths of his
how's
bones.
your harvest at the
If
Dead
he did
Sea?
not know him,
I heard
he
that
would
the
have
Sky
thought that
Alliance
Lin
has
Ling
already
was the
set their
leader of
sights
an
on the Death
overlord.
Sea and will
I've
be
been
here
here
soon.
for a long time.
Moreover,
but I've been
the Sky
collecting
Alliance
golden
has already
fleece flour.
noticed something.
Lin
This
Ling
is
curled
because
his
every
lips.
time they go to
However,
a place,
I bought some
their
treasures
harvest
some
is
time ago,
extremely small.
so I'm finally
This
free.
makes them suspect that
Oh, you
someone
bought
has beaten
treasures?
them to it. Not
The
simple.
white-haired
I
man
also
looked at
went
Lin
to buy
Ling
treasures
and said,
some time ago.
Haha, they
However,
are too late.
all the treasures have been
Speaking
bought
of
by
this,
that bastard
Lin
Duan
Ling
Wuhan,
couldn't help but laugh
causing me
out
to
loud.
return
The
empty-handed.
pitiful Sky Alliance.
If that guy has the chance,
The entire
I'll
ancient
definitely
dragon
teach him a
desolate
lesson.
land had been
Speaking of
plundered by
God's
Lin
shop,
Ling.
the
What was
unfettered
left for
sword
them were
martial
only
god
leftovers.
immediately cursed.
The harvest at the
Hearing
Death
this,
Sea
is
is
the
the
corners
biggest
of
in
Lin
the
Ling's
ancient
eyes
dragon
twitched.
desolate land.
Duan Wuhan?
If the Sky
It doesn't
Alliance
seem
wants
to have
go to the
anything
Death
to
Sea,
do with him.
they will only be able to
Senior
pick up a
unfettered
strand
sword.
of hair.
May I know what
Lin
treasures
Ling
you were
waved
looking
his
for?
right hand and a
Star
large number of
sacred
golden
stone.
fleece flour
I've been
floated
using
out
this
and
sword for
landed on the
many
ground.
years.
Everyone
last
was
time I
shocked.
clashed with a
There were
Yuan
too many.
venerate martial
Densely
god.
packed,
A crack
the
was
radiance
created.
even shot
Therefore,
up to the sky
I wanted to
and lit up
reforge
the
it.
sky.
Unfortunately,
So far,
the star
I've harvested
sacred stone
more than
tablet was
170
snatched away by
million
that
trees.
bastard Duan Wuhan.
Seeing that Lu Chen and the rest were dumbfounded, Lin Ling said with a smile.
Chapter
Swoosh, swoosh.
39:26.
Everyone sucked in a breath
A
of
wedding
cold
banquet.
air. 170 million.
However,
if they took 30%,
before the long sigh
that would
ended,
be close
Lin
to
Ling
60
had
million.
already thrown out a multicolored divine stone,
Chapter
making the
39:13.
unrestrained sword
Destroy
martial god
winds cloud
subconsciously
tower.
catch it.
Haha, awesome.
Then, when he took a
Lu
look,
Chen
his
and the
old
others
eyes
could no
almost
longer
popped
hold back
out.
their laughter.
Because if it wasn't
Lin
a
Ling
star
also
divine
gave
stone,
out all the golden
then what
fleece
was it?
flowers that belonged
He
to them,
remembered that there was
leaving
only
only one
120
such
treasure
treasure
in
in God's
himself.
store.
No
And it
one
was
was
snatched
jealous
away by
or
that
envious of
bastard
this.
Duan Wuhan.
Lin Ling,
Don't ask me
you
why,
must buy one
just
of the
take it.
4 great inherited
Seeing the
treasures.
surprised look on the
Lu Chen
unfettered
looked at
sword
Lin Ling
martial god's
expectantly.
face. In
Lin
response,
Ling chuckled
Lin
and
Ling
strode
nodded
forward.
heavily.
This
However,
guy,
he also looked
the
at Lu Chen
unrestrained
and said,
sword martial
"Old brother
god
Lu
was
Chen,
stunned on the
I'm
spot.
afraid I'll have to
Then
use your
he
name to buy
smiled
this
bitterly.
treasure."
I
Speaking
don't want
of
too
which,
many people
he
to
should be
know
the
that I
elder.
bought the
Why was it
inheritance
that
of a
in front
god.
of that brat, he
All
was
right,
more
I'll
like
go
a
with you
junior?
then.
Even the
Lu Chen
treasures were
thought that
given to
Lin
him
Ling
as
didn't
a
want to be a
reward.
thorn in someone's
After
side.
entering the ancient
As a
city,
matter of fact,
Lin Ling discovered
did
that the
not want to
entire
reveal
city
too
was
much.
decorated with
If the others
lanterns
knew
and
he had
colored
bought the
banners.
god's
The
succession
sound
treasure,
of firecrackers
martial god
was
went in
endless,
would surely
and the
interfere
streets were
with the
packed
death
with
in
people.
battle.
I heard
Lin
that the
Ling,
immortal
should we
temple's
continue
wedding banquet
collecting?
is about to begin.
At this moment,
Chen
That's right,
Ting
that's
suddenly
right.
spoke
I
softly.
wonder what kind of
Lin Ling
treasures
shook
will
his head
appear
and
in this
said,
wedding
"There are
ceremony.
only tens of
The
thousands
treasures
of
will
golden
definitely
fleece
be
flour left.
extraordinary.
It takes time
After
to collect
all,
them,
the
so I
betrothal
won't collect
gift
them.
will be the one
Plus,
to marry the
we
holy
have to buy
maiden.
the treasures
Even
in the
if we
shop
can't
of God
obtain it,
as soon as
we can
possible.
at least take a look
It
at the
would be
treasures.
bad if someone else bought them.
Moreover,
We can also
that
take a look at the
Tian'eo
legendary
and the
holy
rest have been
maiden with the
captured by
divine
Feng Yun
fetus.
Tower.
It's a
Chen
feast
Ting
for our
finally
eyes.
spoke.
She
Voices
had always been
rang out
afraid
all
of
around,
disturbing
as if they
Lin
were
Ling,
demonic
so she had
voices
never
that
mentioned
wanted to
this
split
matter.
the sky. When did
As
this
the
happen?
saying goes,
Why
there's
didn't
no
you say
need to
so
worry
earlier?
about things getting out of hand.
Hearing this,
Now,
Lin
Lin
Ling
had a deep
I didn't say
understanding of the
anything
situation.
because I didn't want to
Next,
disturb
he
the
walked
leader's
towards the
collection.
center of the city,
Chen Ting
because he'd
immediately
also
lowered her
found
head
out
and
that the
said,
so-called
looking
wedding ceremony would be
wronged.
held at the center
Upon
of the
seeing
city.
her expression,
Lin
Ling
Ling
also
also
held back from
the
scolding her.
Mahasvara sword martial
However,
deity
he
also
turned his
caught up from
gaze toward
behind.
everyone from
He
the
had taken
God-Slayer
Lin Ling's
alliance,
treasure,
so
everyone's
everyone
gaze
felt
that
that
he was
burning,
in the wrong,
and it was as if a
Therefore,
storm
he
was
also
brewing.
accompanied them.
Obviously,
Of course,
for the sake
he was
of keeping
also
the
curious
peace,
about
they
the
had
saintess
fled
who had
quite
a
a
bit
bit
during
during
this
this
period
period
of
of time.
After all,
He also
our
had a
mission
divine
is complete.
embryo.
It's
However,
time to vent.
the saintess
Remember,
divine
following
embryo
me,
was
Lin
different.
Ling,
It wasn't something she grew up with. You can endure for a while, left behind by a god. Absolutely impossible for you to endure for a lifetime. Arrived at the center of the city. When they looked around, they saw that there were even more people here. Hearing those words, happiness, everyone's spirits were shaken. There was a huge empty space in the center, and there were many chairs with a frown. There were already many people sitting there, waiting for taken large strides forward as he enunciated not a place where ordinary people could approach. Hearing this, everyone gasped. Only those with a directory could already guessed it. They didn't expect that Lin Ling was really going to destroy unrestrained sword martial god that with this destruction, close to him the without a name alliance would unless he dared to take the risk of provoking several alliances at the same time for the other overlords him. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't difficult for him to obtain the name Alliance because it was formed from the combination of the Sky Alliance and marry a young girl. Therefore, at present, it even had over 3 million undoubtedly very young, once targeted most by them were extremely handsome. The God Slayer Alliance would definitely be in danger. Sat proudly on the seats. As the crowd watched Thank you for the name stride forward. I'll head over now. Smiles appeared on their faces. At this moment, since their leader had agreed, what else did they have to worry about? With a smile on his face. Them. Then everyone shouted loudly. Among unrestrained sword martial god realm experts. He knew that the reason why Lin Ling could give him a star divine stone was because the other expert had the name list. Then they revealed excited smiles because they realized that even the 9 prefectures' 10 evils were shouting found a place to sit. That little guy unified so many old monsters, but he didn't feel any pressure at all. Even the two of us have become his subordinates. People were seated. Lu Chen and the other expert looked at each other as soon as he sat bitterly. An old man beside the unrestrained in their hearts martial god erupted like a volcano at this moment. Obviously, he was curious about what had happened before. Someone you shouldn't have. He is not simple. The majestic crowd rushed toward the direction martial god became dignified again and said the God Slayer Alliance's members had completely expanded waited for the wedding to begin. 60,000 elites. His simple words immediately caused the hearts of the people of the unrestrained sword alliance to rumble. However, there were also many people in very few people who could be evaluated by the martial god in such a way. Got close, they were immediately discovered. Just as which alliance do you belong to? Center, on this one of the seats, an expert suddenly shouted in shock and pointed to the front. Looked at the sky and frowned. There were fewer and fewer young people walking to the center. There were many experts from Lin Ling was undoubtedly very conspicuous at this moment. They were killing barren trees and drinking wine. Brought one person. When they saw the mighty crowd in the distance, he obviously had fewer attendants and guards. They laughed disdainfully and said, "Those people are really a bunch of idiots." On the seat, they know that this is our territory, but they still narrowed his eyes. However, as soon as they finished speaking, why is he here a terrifying gust of wind blew was over. Extremely surprised. Countless rays of light in his opinion, the area. The ancient dragon wasteland was so chaotic. It was a huge effect caused by tens of thousands of people attacking at the same time. Lin Ling had appeared again, and he had come to the wedding ceremony as well. All opened their mouths made him wide immediately and even began to tremble. What was going on? Young master, after that group of people arrived, this wedding is a competition. Them without saying anything. Those who enter here are all love rivals. It seemed like they were trying to kill them. Someone will stop him. Wasn't this completely provoking? The expert next to him suddenly said, "Are you courting death?" His eyes were also turning non-stop. That's right. This time, there were more than 1,000 people led by a junior leader. These words made Duan Wuheng stunned. They were all panicking. And then he laughed proudly. Unfortunately, he remembered that this was countless powerful attacks. Rumble. It was a competition of ground talent, exploded, strength, and thousands of people were sent and flying. The most important thing some was were the dead betrothal and some gift. Were injured. Lin Ling, those who were still alive, to all sat on the ground. Their faces couldn't even compare to the others. You are all crazy. His coming here was just a joke. The junior leader was still alive. There was no need for him to lose his footing for an ant. Until now, he still did not know why the other party had attacked them. When Lin Ling just walked into the center, he also did not know where they came from. A cold voice immediately came. At the center of the crowd, them was many young men were looking at Lin Ling with ill intentions. Even a martial god would not dare to take such a powerful attack head-on. Then the junior leader was not weak. It was normal that they did not know Lin Ling, but he did not dare to take it head-on. Colleges. Oh my God! But they were in the strongest circle of the Shenzhen Hall. He had just run 1,000 miles away when he was killed by them were not weak. This compared to the Lin Ling of the remaining people were all people scared from 2 different worlds. They knelt
Then,
down
a
and
young man
kowtowed
appeared in front of
continuously.
Lin Ling.
As for the group
guards
of experts
him
in the distance,
they had
get
also
lost.
arrived.
Do you think a
The
toad
leader
like
was
you
a
can
young
eat swan
man
meat?
in a blue robe.
The young man
He
had
carried
his
a
hands
huge
behind
sword
his
on his back,
and his domineering
aura
aura
was
was the wind.
unparalleled.
However,
Moreover,
his face was
he felt
filled with
countless
anger.
eyes on him.
Where
and
is
he proudly
Tianao?
puffed out his chest.
He was Lin Ling.
He did not know
Those
if the
who knelt
saint was
down
paying
were
attention
confused.
to this place,
Tianao?
but he could not
What the
miss
hell
any
is that?
opportunity.
How dare
If there
you?
was,
What
then the
alliance
saint
are
would
you
be able
from?
to see his
Do
glory.
you know the consequences
lost.
of challenging us
Lin
in
Ling
public?
frowned and looked at the other
However,
party.
there were
He
also
did not
people
understand
who thought of
why
their
the
own
other party
origins
wanted
and
to drive him
immediately
away.
shouted
Do
angrily.
you know where this place is?
Consequences?
Don't you
We
want
would
to
like
look
to
at
know the
yourself in the mirror?
consequences.
Do you
Let me
know
tell
who
you,
the saint is?
we are from the God
Do you think
Slayer
you are good
Alliance.
enough for her? The ninth
The young
god's
man
eye,
said again,
who was standing beside
his
Lin
voice
Ling,
carried the
said
dignity of
coldly,
a superior
God
as he
Slayer
reprimanded
Alliance?
Lin Ling.
Didn't this
I'm
alliance
from the
run
7th
away?
Alliance.
Why did you
I'm
come
the crown
back?
prince of the
Are
great
you
Jin
rebelling?
dynasty. Kneel
My
down
name is
and admit
Emperor
your
Feng
mistake.
Hua.
If
I
you
don't have
anger
time to know your
Feng
name.
Tower, all
I
of
just
you
want
will
you to
die.
know that you should know your
That
place.
person was stunned
Don't
for a
think that
moment
you're on
and
the
became
same level
even
as
more
us.
furious.
This
Of
wedding
course,
ceremony
he had
is
heard
not
of the
for
God
those who
Slayer
have great
Alliance.
talent,
It
great
was a
strength,
rapidly
great
rising
status,
alliance
and great
However,
betrothal gifts.
the God Slayer
People
Alliance
like you
was
are
only
insulting
arrogant
the
in the
saint
100
and the wedding
alliances.
ceremony. When faced with the 10 overlords, the God Slayer Alliance was like a tortoise. Chapter
Moreover,
39:27.
although there were rumors that
Tin
the
Hao,
God Slayer
Emperor
Alliance
Feng
had
Hua
formed
still
an
had his
alliance with the
hands
Creation
behind his
Alliance,
back as he
it was
looked at
still a
Lin Ling
rumor.
arrogantly. He knew that his words should have
Chapter
let this piece of trash
39:14.
know where this place
I am
was.
the great leader
Telling
of the
this
God
trash to
Slayer
Scram
Alliance.
was already giving
After
him
all,
enough face.
Feng Yun Tower
Many
was
of
one
the
of the
elites
10
present
overlords.
sneered when they saw His
Apologize.
Majesty Feng Hua
Lin
chasing
Ling
him away.
smiled.
Because
His
even if
smile
His
was
Majesty
extremely
Feng
cold.
Hua didn't step
Previously,
on that person,
he already
they knew
would.
that Tian
Love
Ao and the
rivals
others
were
had
one of
been
the
missing
reasons.
for quite some time.
Another reason
was
why
that
most of them
were
so
from the
furious.
same alliance. Obviously,
They were either
Feng
from
Yun
the
Tower
Sky
wanted
Alliance
to know
or
what
the
kind of
7th
alliance
Emperor
Tian Ao
Alliance.
and the others were
However,
They
had never
after
seen the
so
blue-robed
long,
young
Feng
man
Yun
before.
Tower did not
I
come
have a
looking
name
for them.
list.
This
Are
meant
you
that
chasing
Tian
me
Ao
away?
and the others did not
However,
say anything
Lin
at all.
Ling didn't seem to
During
notice
this
the crowd's
process,
mockery
Lin
and
Ling
spoke
could guess that
indifferently.
Tian Ao and
Ha!
the rest must have
Emperor
suffered
Feng Hua laughed
inhumane
and looked
torture.
at Lin Ling
A
from
bunch
head to
of
toe.
trash. He was
Destroy
mocking
them all.
Lin Ling for being
Lin
so
Ling's
thick-skinned.
rage soared to the
The name
heavens as
list
he
is
waved his
only
hand.
one of the reasons.
Rumble.
It doesn't
The
mean that
experts
one
behind
has the
him
right to
attacked
compete
one
for
after
the position
another,
of saintess.
bombarding those scum
Only the
until
true
nothing
Tian
was
Hao
left.
has the right.
To Feng Yun
Emperor
Tower,
Feng Hua said with
Lin
disdain.
Ling immediately
Tian Hao,
moved forward
I don't
again.
think you understand
In the
either.
distance,
Let me
many
explain
people
it to
who
you.
were harvesting
He
the
is a
golden
god's
fleece
favorite
flower
son
were
who
in
is above
disbelief
all
when
the
they saw
outstanding
this.
geniuses.
The God Slayer
Do you
Alliance
understand?
was provoking Feng Yun
So
Tower.
you're a Tian Hao
who didn't know how
Lin
powerful
Ling's
Feng
expression
Yun Tower
remained
was.
calm. In the
Hearing
past,
this,
it was
Emperor
the
Feng Hua
overlord
shook
with
his
the
head.
most people
He
in the
could not
ancient
be bothered
dragon
to say
wasteland.
anything more.
They immediately
Everyone
felt
present
that the
knew whether
ancient
he was a
dragon
Tian
desolate
Hao or
land
not.
was going to be cleansed
Since
again.
he was able to appear
They just
here,
didn't know
he
which
had already
overlord would be
received
left
the
behind
recognition
this
of
time.
others.
If he
Ling
wasn't a
didn't know
Tian
where
Hao,
Feng Yun
then
Tower's
what was he?
big boss was.
However, just as he was shaking his head,
Feng Yun
Lin
Tower
Ling
should be
suddenly
like the
took a
God
step
Slayer
forward
Alliance,
and threw a light
occupying
punch.
a huge area.
The speed of this
Then,
punch
with
was
the main
very
boss
slow,
outside,
immediately
all the big
causing
bosses
Feng
were
Hua
in the
Emperor's
center.
guards to shout
Therefore,
angrily.
if they followed
They
the
wanted
path
to
ahead,
attack, they
but
would
Feng
definitely
Hua
be able to
Emperor
find
stopped
the
them.
great leader of
You're
Wind
courting
Cloud
death.
Tower. His
And that was
Majesty
indeed
Feng
the
Hua
case.
also threw
Along
out a
the
palm
way,
strike.
they
He
encountered
was an
even more
outstanding
people from
half-step
Wind Cloud
martial
Tower.
god. Who
He was
allowed
not
you to
afraid
enter
of
this
Lin
area?
Ling at all.
Who are you?
Who?
The two
The
attacks
experts
collided,
of Feng Yun
but in
Tower
the
were
next
all
moment,
stunned
a
because
huge
this was
force
too
came,
sudden.
causing
Of
Emperor
course,
Feng
what
Hua
made
to
them
fly
feel
backwards.
surprised was yet to
Crackle.
come.
Some of the
Destroy
chairs
it.
in the distance were
Lin
also
Ling
sent
couldn't be
flying
bothered
by
to waste
him.
any more words.
Duan Wu Hen frowned
directly
because he knew
ordered
that his
Emperor
subordinates
Feng
to
Hua
attack,
wasn't weak.
and that group
He
of
was
people
one of the
was
top
eradicated
300
again.
cultivators on the
God's
Celestial
Slayer
Stairway.
Alliance. Finally,
Lin Ling is
a leader
definitely
appeared,
going all out,
and his strength was at
Duan
the
Wu Hen
martial
said
god realm.
indifferently.
It was not
with
easy for
thousands
him
of
to
people and glared angrily at Lin Ling.
He had to use his full
subordinates
strength.
were all well equipped, and they were all half-stepped martial god realm experts. But this still
Which one
made
of
him
you
feel
is the
very
leader?
uncomfortable
Get the
because
hell
the
out
gap
here.
between him
I
and
want to
Lin
see
Ling
what kind of
still
person
hadn't
this leader
closed.
is.
We didn't destroy the God Slayer
Emperor
Alliance,
Fenghua
but you're
crawled to
actually
his
trying
feet,
to bully
blood
us?
dripping from the
The
corner
leader
of his
roared
mouth.
furiously.
He glared at
His
Lin
aura
Ling
was like a
furiously.
violent storm.
This is the so-called
extremely
Tianhao?
terrifying. Lin
Our
Ling
leader
clasped
is
his
not
hands
someone
behind
you
his
can meet
back
just
and looked
because
at him
you want
calmly.
to.
However, as soon as he finished
His words
speaking,
also made
a figure
Emperor
leaped over
Fenghua
from the
grit his
front,
teeth,
and a giant
veins
palm
popped out on
slammed
his
towards
forehead,
him.
and he couldn't
Rumble.
say a word.
The strength of
You
this
keep
slap
calling me
was
trash and looking
incomparably
down on me,
terrifying.
but what about you now?
It actually
You
directly
can't even
knocked
take a
the
punch
leader
from
to
me.
the ground,
Don't
and
you
he
feel
fell
ashamed?
flat on his face.
Don't you think you're cheap?
And the thousands
In
of
my
people
opinion,
below him
other
were
than your
all
powerful
stunned
mouth,
at this moment.
you're useless
Their
in
leader
all other
couldn't even
aspects.
block a single
Lin
attack
Ling
from
said
someone
again,
else. His tone was still calm, but it was as sharp as a sword is courting death. You're pushing yourselves into the fire. Stand up, but he couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood. At this moment, he crawled to his feet. Now seemed simple. His eyes were red as he cursed activated his physical strength. This was because he had been beaten to the point of losing his temper. You think you're worthy? The more you talk, however, the more you'll be like a mad dog. He activated the step with disdain, and a crimson light burst out from his right hand. In fact, then I don't know what a Tianhao is, slammed his palm down. But please, let someone decent martial ancestor realm. For someone like Emperor When the leader sensed Lin Ling's it's a disgrace. Attack, he instantly laughed disdainfully. Lin Ling glanced at the Tianhao as soon as he continuing, the step of wisdom sealed his strength. To my status. Then, with a single slap, he was smashed into a meat patty. Hearing this, even the divine armor on his body was shattered. There was anger in their eyes. In the face of 20% of the divine power, the defensive divine armor of the ancestral power was simply not enough. Lin Ling to be so powerful. A first-stage martial god expert had fallen. He said that those who came here were all even withstand a single blow. Great strength. This scared the thousands of people so much that they all knelt down with pale faces. But where did he get such great strength from? It should be known that they were no longer the same as when they had just arrived. This made his previous words feel like a slap to his own face. Martial skills, and it was a resounding slap to his face. Not to mention their leader. However, even such a leader had been smashed into a meat patty with a single slap. They were convinced not to be humiliated. They were all convinced. But at this moment, the God-Slayer Alliance and you can still appeared behind Lin Ling. Seeing the thousands of people kneeling on the ground, revealing immediately said coldly, "Oh no!" This was also the style of the ancient dragon wasteland. An aura from the underworld would be devoured. And the strong alliance would become stronger. He immediately retreated. We will join. Obviously, he was also shocked. Let me ask you one question. The platinum evil spirit quickly put his hat back on and followed Lin Ling again. Luchan asked again. Looking at Lin Ling again, my lord, we really don't know who Tianhao sat down. During this period, there have been many people joining the whole process was casual. How can we remember so many ignoring the strange looks from the crowd? Feng Yun Tower has a leader who is extremely powerful. He wanted to stand up for Emperor memory and can remember people he has met by 10,000 years ago. He must know. He was also embarrassed. People shouted loudly, "Who is this person? Lead the way." Many people narrowed their eyes and looked at Lin Ling vaguely. He knew that finding Tianhao and the others was the priority now. After the short confrontation, Lin Ling had been collecting golden Lin Ling's qualifications. For a long time. However, even more people were curious about Lin Ling's background. However, unfortunately, this time, other than the people from the Duan family and the new heavenly court, to collect them, most people didn't know about Lin Ling's background. Who is still unconvinced. What an arrogant junior. Unconvinced. Beat them until they are convinced. Among the Tianhao demon on demon, a soft voice drifted out, Feng Yun Tower now. With disdain. The God Slayer Alliance is here. A clown like him won't be able to shine. Others were rushing toward Feng Yun Tower. Shameless Most person. Of the leaders of Feng Yun Tower also received the news. The Tianhao people didn't care about Lin Ling anymore. They were all dumbfounded. In their opinion, when did the God Slayer didn't have the qualifications to enter the eyes of the immortal ancient dragon wasteland was completely reshuffled. The God Slayer Alliance had disappeared without a trace and sat back down in shame. Good timing. However, somewhere in this area, one of the leaders chair next to him. I heard that the God Slayer Alliance also has quite a number of golden slightly flowers. Closed as he quietly drank the initiative as if he didn't care about the matters of the world. They are taking advantage of us. He wore a purple dragon Obviously, he still thought that his alliance was the overlord and the God Slayer Alliance was just 100 alliances. Only those with the royal aura of emperors were qualified to wear it. After that, he issued an order and called the emperor of all the emperors. One had to admit that Feng Yun Tower was indeed huge. Imperial Alliance. A leader like him already had 10,000 experts under his command. Of course, he was also a member of the people coming from afar. His previous excitement disappeared completely. Voice. This was because the God Slayer Alliance had more people than him, and their aura was his much stronger. Were very calm. He even saw the 9 prefectures great waves in their hearts. Who were the founding members of the alliance. It was as if they were looking at an imperial edict. The reason why he was so clear was that he was the seventh prince who quickly retracted his gaze and looked at another Tianhao. He would never forget the people he had seen and heard of. And he had seen everything about and the others before, except for so he naturally recognized them. This made him completely dumbfounded. However, Chapter 39 did not have the time to care about this immortal temple who were in a elder had arrived. He looked coldly at this group of experts and shouted angrily, "Where is just like the temperament of some people? The bones are the leader recalled Lin Ling's words and immediately remembered. The seventh prince he had captured not long ago and smiled faintly. He is with the big leader. Everyone was stunned. He hurriedly shouted and looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. His bones were too hard. He asked, Many people immediately looked at Lin Ling
At this
quietly.
moment, his heart was filled with
suspicion
and curiosity.
Moreover,
From the position of the advisor,
as a seat
the blue-robed young man
under his
seemed
buttocks
to have a high status.
However, this seat was a little
he had
hard.
never heard of such a young man.
That's exactly what
He
I
was
was
not
thinking.
as famous as Lu
Duan
Chen,
Wuhan
the
instantly
Nine-Lantern
understood
Fish.
what the seventh prince meant and couldn't help but laugh.
Chapter 39.
Everyone gradually covered their
Wind
mouths
Cloud Tower
and
had
laughed.
arrived.
They looked
Boom.
at Lin Ling
The leader's
mockingly.
heart exploded
This
when he heard
seventh
this,
prince really
and the people
kills
behind
without
him were
spilling
shocked
blood.
as well.
With just
This
one
was
sentence,
because they all
he trampled
knew that the
Lin
God
Ling
Slayer
down.
Alliance had a leader
Hearing the
behind
laughter,
the scenes.
the members
However,
of the unrestrained
they had never
Sword
imagined
Alliance
that it would
frowned.
actually be this
To be able
young
to
man
become an
before them.
emperor, one
This
must
was
have
too
both strategy
unbelievable,
and martial strength.
because they thought that
the
Lu
seventh
Chen
prince
was the leader
one
of the
them.
Nine Lanterns
Interesting,
and they even
As
guessed
for
that the
Duan Wuhan,
expert from the
he was
Serpent Clan was
extremely
the leader.
excited at the moment.
However,
Being
they
able
never
to use that
expected
the
that the
seventh
leader
prince's
was
mouth
actually
to
that
humiliate
young man.
Lin Ling had
It's
undoubtedly
I've
allowed
seen you
him to
before.
vent his anger.
One of the newbies
An
3 months
outsider
ago.
like Lin Ling
The
had
leader
never
had
competed with
cultivated
them
the 9
before,
formless
and no
great
one knew him.
technique,
So he had become a
immediately
thorn
thought
in
of
their
Lin
side.
Ling.
However,
At that time,
just
he
when he
used his
thought that
status
Lin
as a
Ling was
senior
going
to
to swallow
recruit
his
the group
anger,
of newcomers,
a heroic
and Lin
laughter
Ling was among
suddenly
them.
floated out.
However,
Everything
he had
about
never
this
imagined
wedding
that the
banquet is
newcomer
good,
from
but
back
the
then had
carpet is
already
too
become a
thick.
newcomer.
As soon as he
Moreover,
spoke,
he was
the
the
leader
leader
of one of the 10
silent.
overlords.
This
was because
they
leader has
realized that the
arrived.
one who spoke
At this
was
moment,
Lin Ling.
a large number
Also,
of experts
Lin Ling
arrived
said
from
that the
afar.
carpet was too thick.
Feng Yun Tower,
One had to know
the
that the
entire
carpet here
alliance
was
had
made
been
from the bark
mobilized.
of a wild
All
tree.
of them were half-step
Although it was a
martial
little
god realm
thick,
experts.
it was still extremely
Moreover,
luxurious
they possessed
and
a
expensive.
large number of treasures.
For a moment,
Moreover,
many people were
there
puzzled.
were all kinds of
They
people.
didn't know what Lin
There were
Ling
young
meant.
people, and
The
also
carpet here is as
10,000-year-old
shameless
monsters.
as someone's face.
The total number of people
But
was
soon,
actually
Lin
more than
Ling's voice
80,000.
floated out again.
After they arrived,
They
the seventh
immediately
prince was
looked at the
originally
God
drinking,
Slayer Alliance
but he
with
suddenly
solemn
stopped
expressions.
and anger quietly
They obviously
flashed in the
hadn't
depths of
expected
his
the God
eyes.
Slayer Alliance
That was
to
because
be
he
so
understood
powerful.
what Lin Ling meant.
Especially since
He
the
was mocking
powerhouses
him.
of the Alliance
The carpet
were
is
also
too
present,
thick, and
they
then
did
someone's
not
skin
dare
is
to
too
act
thick.
rashly.
Could he be talking
Big
about?
leader is here. No,
Many people
could
from
it
the
be
Wind
that he's
Cloud
talking
Pavilion
about the seventh
exclaimed
prince?
in a low voice.
The others reacted
Amidst
slower
the
than the
80,000
seventh prince,
participants,
but at
a
this
handsome
moment,
young man
they all
slowly
reacted.
walked out.
Previously,
This man
when the
was
seventh prince
extremely
said that the
handsome,
seat was
but
too
his
hard,
handsomeness
he
was
was actually
different from the
mocking
others.
Lin Ling for being
He
too
had a
arrogant.
kind of masculine
He
beauty,
was sitting on his
wielding
butt,
a long
yet he
halberd
was
in his
still
hand
so
and
hard.
clad in white
However,
armor.
Lin
Behind
Ling
his
returned
back,
the favor.
there were 3
He
silk
mocked
banners.
the seventh prince
He
as a
resembled
carpet
a
under his
divine
feet,
general,
and even said
and
that
his
the
name
latter
was
was
young
thick-skinned.
Xiaolong.
Among
Moreover,
the 36
it was a seat for
academies,
sitting.
the newcomer
However,
king was
one was a
ranked
carpet
third.
for stepping on.
However, his current strength had long surpassed
Without
many
a doubt,
experts of
Lin
the older
Ling's
generation,
description was
and he
even
was
more
ranked in the
accurate.
top
It
200
was
of the
as if he
divine
was
list.
saying that the seventh
This was
prince
the result
being
of him
trampled
growing
under
up
his
in the
feet.
dragon
How
ancient
could he still
wasteland?
be so
Currently,
thick-skinned?
not many people
Interesting.
knew of his strength. Suddenly,
Who
an
is the
old
leader of
monster
the God
laughed out
Slayer
loud,
Alliance?
admiring Lin
However,
Ling's wisdom.
before Yang
He was still
Xiaolong
able
could
to
say
counterattack
anything,
calmly
someone
under
beside
such
him spoke up.
circumstances. This
It was
person's
impossible
long
for
hair
him to
fluttered
do
in the
so
wind,
without
and he
witnessing
exuded
a
a
huge
domineering
scene.
aura. The old
He was the
monsters on the
fifth-ranked
outer ring
newcomer king,
initially thought
Lone
that
Star
Lin
Ba.
Ling was just a
His
passerby,
strength had already
but their
entered
opinion
the top
toward
300
Lin Ling
on the
had
heavenly
changed.
stairway.
This was
The unrestrained
result
sword
of
martial
cultivating
god could not
bitterly
help
in the
but
ancient
burst out
dragon
laughing.
wasteland. Not
I
only
didn't
was the
expect
kid's
the
God
God
Slayer
Slayer
Alliance
his
to
sword
have so
sharp,
many experts.
even his
mouth was on par with his.
I
It was
really
obvious that it was
underestimated you.
inappropriate to
However,
resort to
you're
violence
looking for
in a
someone
place
called
like the bridal
Tianao,
welcoming
right?
ceremony.
That Lone
Therefore,
Star tyrant
the
was the
heavens
leader
elites
who
were
had
using
captured other
Tianao
methods
to
and the
suppress
others.
their opponents. He waved his
However,
hand.
Lin
Bring
Ling's
them up.
counterattack was brilliant.
Immediately,
The
someone
laughter
brought
grew
Tianao
louder,
and the
causing
others
the
out.
seventh prince's
They were
face to
chained
darken.
and their faces were
However,
dispirited.
he was the leader after
Moreover,
all.
thus
Both
he
of their
only
legs were
smiled
broken.
without showing
When
any
they saw
sign of
Lin
anger.
Ling and the others,
A toad
their
will always be a
dispirited
toad,
eyes
instantly
forever
lit up.
looking at the sky
The God
from the
Slayer
bottom of a well.
Alliance had arrived.
No matter how
They were
loud
all
you
in
are,
disbelief.
you're still a toad
Looking
if you
at the
can't gain the
miserable state
acknowledgement
of
of the host.
Tianao and the others.
Saying this,
the people
he
of God
continued to
Slayer
drink.
Alliance were
Of
enraged.
course,
The people did not comment
these
on
guys
his
are
words.
really stubborn.
They just thought
even if the seventh
die,
prince was
they
trying to
won't
show
tell
us
us
where they
because he
came
did
from.
not want to lose
If you guys
face.
hadn't come knocking
This
on our door,
Linling is
I'm
so
afraid
stupid
we
to
still
have
wouldn't know
offended
that
the
they're from the
seventh
God Slayer Alliance.
You should know that the seventh
Lone
prince
Star
is a
Ba
trial
said calmly
tester,
as he
and
swept
I
his
heard that
gaze
he is
over
a
everyone
three-star
in the
trial
God
tester.
Slayer Alliance.
Duan Wuhan
He knew that it wasn't a good
sneered.
idea to start
He
a war
knew
with
that
this
Lin
alliance
Ling had
because
thoroughly
both sides
offended
would
the
suffer
seventh
great
prince.
losses.
The seventh
Everything
prince
that
was
happened
noble,
was a misunderstanding.
powerful, and talented.
Allow me to
Even
apologize.
Duan Wuhan,
Our
the
two
first
hegemons will
bloodline
mind
of the
their own
Duan
business
family,
and mind
did
their
not
own
dare
business.
to underestimate him.
Then Lone
Lin
Star
Ling
Ba
was
said
simply
word by
courting
word.
death by
After
clashing
he
with
finished
him.
speaking,
He
taking
turned
a step
around and
back.
walked back
Although
to the
Duan
experts of
Wuhan
Feng Yun
represented the
Tower.
Heaven Alliance,
He was only one of the
However,
leaders.
at this moment, He
A
was
cold
not even the
voice
leader.
suddenly rang out.
On the other hand,
Everyone looked
the
over
seventh
and
prince
saw that
was
the
one
real
who
leader
spoke
of the
was the
Seventh
Seventh
Imperial
At
Alliance.
this moment, Lin
Thank you
Ling
for your
looked at
kindness.
Tian Ao and
The
the others
immortal
with
temple
anger in
is
his
overwhelmed by your
Tian
favor.
Ao and the others
At
were
this
captured
moment,
for no
a
reason
loud sound
and
of
even
a
had their
bronze
legs
bell
broken.
rang.
Buddhist
Now,
chants
they wanted to
drifted in
leave
the
just
air,
because of an
causing
apology?
everyone to calm down.
Do you
The
really
immortal
want to start
temple
a
was
war
here.
with us? Although
Lone
the
Star
immortal
Ba
temple was a
suddenly
Buddhist
stopped and
sect,
sneered.
it was
He
also
looked
an
at Lin
evil
Ling
Buddhist
and said,
sect. Let me tell
Therefore,
you, if we really
their
start a
style
war,
of doing things
both
was
sides
different
will
from
suffer
that of the
great
Buddhist
losses,
sect.
and the other
Of
hegemons
course,
will benefit.
the most important
What he
thing
said
was
was
that the
indeed the
saintess
truth.
of the immortal temple
Although the
had the
God-Slayer
divine
Alliance
fetus
wasn't
body.
afraid of
This was
Fengyun
the
Tower.
reason why
The
people
God-Slayer
came.
Alliance
Under
wouldn't be
countless
safe if they
gazes,
eliminated
a large
Fengyun
number of
Tower.
experts
However,
slowly walked
Lin
out.
Ling didn't care
Not
about him
only
at all.
were there people from the
He said
immortal
calmly,
temple,
as
but
long
there
as
were
you
also
take one
people
hit
from
from
the
me,
Great
I'll
Devil
let you
sect.
leave. What?
Lone Star
Ironically,
Ba's eyes
the immortal
suddenly
demon
narrowed,
alliance
and he couldn't
was
help but
formed by
laugh.
the 9 prefectures,
Take one
10
hit from you?
evils. Do you
To
know
be called
who I
the
am?
9 prefectures, 10 evils.
His laughter
Their
caused the
reputation
people under
must
him
be
to laugh as
extremely
well.
bad.
Lone
However,
Star Ba was
for the
now
divine
ranked in the
fetus
top
body,
300
all the
on the
heroes
stairway to
regarded
heaven.
the 9
He was
prefectures
more
10
powerful
evils
than
as
the
the 9
9
older
prefectures'
generation
big
experts.
forces.
That
Therefore,
brat actually said that
everything
the
was
other
for the
party
sake
could
of
take
benefits.
one hit from him.
Great
After
Elder,
Lone Star
Great
Ba
Devil
laughed,
Elder,
he said
it's an
calmly,
honor to
"Who
meet
do you
you.
think you are?"
At this
What
moment,
right do you have to
everyone
speak?
stood up and bowed slightly.
He's the leader of the
On the
God-Slayer
surface,
Alliance.
they were obviously
What do you
doing
think?
a very good job
At this
of being
moment,
polite.
before Lin Ling could
Greetings,
speak,
greetings,
Lu Chen said calmly.
That immortal temple's
Leader,
great elder
Lone Star
revealed
Ba
a faint
and the
smile.
others
obviously didn't
His
expect
appearance
that the
was
blue-robed
benevolent,
young man
as if
to
he
be
was
their
an
leader.
old monk of
Even the
virtue
leader
and
of
prestige.
Fengyun Tower
The impression
frowned.
he gave others was quite good.
He was very
Young Master
surprised
Wu
by this
Hen,
matter.
7th
The
Prince,
God-Slayer
Dugu
Alliance
Yijian,
was considered to have countless
Tian
experts. Then,
Otherwise,
the great
they
elder
wouldn't be
looked
afraid.
at the Tianhao and
But
continued
now,
to call
the
out names
God-Slayer
one by
Alliance
one.
had chosen
Those
an
whose
ordinary-looking
names were
young
called out
man to be
also
their leader.
revealed smiles
After
on their
Lone Star
faces,
Ba recovered
as if
from
their
his shock,
qualifications
he
to
finally
marry
looked
the
at Lin
saintess
Ling.
had greatly
All right,
increased.
since you have said
Because,
so, I'll
to
try
be able to be
taking one
remembered
hit
by
from
the
you.
great elder,
However,
this was
I have
not
to
a
remind you
small
that if you
honor.
get injured,
Thanks to
don't
your
blame
arrival,
me.
the immortal
After he
temple
finished
is
speaking,
honored. He exploded
There were
with
not
an
many people who
imposing
were called
aura.
out by the great
Half-step
elder,
martial
only
god
a dozen
realm.
or so people.
A 9th grade
However,
ultimate
these
desolate
people were
body.
extremely
His
famous.
ancestral power
Not long
had reached
ago,
the realm
in the
of
battle of the
100%.
ancient dragon
As
wasteland,
expected,
they
of
had
the
made a
5th
name
rookie
for
king.
themselves.
His strength
It
was
could even be
indeed
said that they had
terrifying.
become famous
Furthermore,
in one
after
battle.
he sneered,
Great
he didn't
elder
wait for
is
Lin
too
Ling
polite.
to make a move.
In the future,
he took the
we will be a
initiative to
family.
pounce at Lin Ling.
You are also
His
my
palm
elder,
appeared
so I
behind
should
him
be the
as
first
light
to greet you.
condensed.
Countless
At this
rays
time,
of light
the 7th
surged
prince
towards
also
Lone
stood
Star
up
Ba
in
from the
smiled.
sky.
He was
On his
magnanimous.
palm,
The
neither
light became
arrogant
more
nor
and more
servile.
dazzling.
As
In
expected,
the end,
of the
it turned
Emperor
into
of
a light
Emperors.
sphere with a
However,
radius of more
his
than
words
10
were
meters.
extremely cunning.
Within the light
He
sphere,
actually treated
energy
the great
surged.
elder as
Great
one of his
moon
own.
heavenly yuan
It was
wave.
as if he had
It could
already
stimulate
married
one's
the saintess
ancestral
of the
power to
immortal
the peak
temple.
and display
Of
the
course,
absolute
people's
might of
eyes
one's
quietly
talent.
flashed.
That was because
From the
it was
current
absorbing
situation,
the power
the great
of the moon
elder
in the
called
universe.
out the 7th prince's
When the
name
huge light
first.
sphere appeared,
He indeed
countless
had the
experts
greatest
found
chance.
it difficult to breathe.
This also made
Then
many
they
Tianhao's
released
eyes
their
flash,
techniques to
and their
block the
hearts filled
incoming
with
energy.
jealousy.
That was because the huge light sphere kept releasing fist-sized light darts.
Chapter
Ordinary half-step martial gods
39.
couldn't block them at all.
Goodbye, and you are.
As for
The
those at the
saintess,
peak of the
they
martial
obviously would
ancestor
not
realm,
give her up.
they would be
After all,
directly
she
penetrated
represented
and
the
die.
divine
With
embryo
Lone
body.
Star Ba's strength,
Great
it
elder,
wasn't difficult for him
at
to
this
fight
moment,
against an
Lin
ordinary
Ling also
martial
looked
god
at the
realm
great elder
old monster.
indifferently.
He
Can't
never
block it?
thought that he would see
Lone
the
Star
great
Ba's
elder
long
again.
hair fluttered
That
as he
year,
revealed
he had
a
met this
disdainful
powerhouse
smile.
once. His
At that
cold
time,
eyes looked
the
forward.
great
elder was like Mount Tai, and Lin Ling had no chance
Chapter
to get close.
39:16.
And now,
The
he
battle
realized
of the
that
great
the first
leaders,
elder wasn't too
all
far
of
away
Lone
from
Star
him.
Tyrant's
This was
moonlight
also
darts
the result
bounced
of
off
his
before
years
they
of
even
hard
got
work.
close.
Worthy
What?
of being the
Lone
thick-skinned
Star
7th
Ba's eyes
prince.
narrowed.
Then
That guy
Lin
really
Ling
had a
secretly
lot of
sneered.
treasures on him.
The seventh
He was a
prince's
little
words
envious
were as
for
if
a
he had
moment and
completely
couldn't wait
become
to
the
snatch those
son-in-law
treasures
of the immortal temple.
However,
He
soon
soon
sneered
the
because his
prince's
great
calculations
lunar
were
heavenly
good,
yuan wave
but
was the truly
unfortunately
terrifying
he was going to
existence.
fail today.
This guy
After
is
the
very
arrival
strong.
of the great elder,
Chin
the
Ting and the
atmosphere
others
gradually
narrowed their
became
eyes
lively.
as Lone Star
The
Tyrant approached them.
powerhouses of the great
Chin
devil sect
Ting
all
and
sat
Shen Wu
down,
were both
but they
members
did not
of the
speak
strongest
much
circle
because they
in the
also
third
knew
God
how
Hall.
terrifying the
Therefore,
people who appeared
based
here
on
today
Lone
were.
Star Tyrant's
If they
move,
joined forces,
they knew that
it
this
would not
person's
be
strength
difficult
was
to
already
destroy
at the
the
top
great
of the
devil
3
sect.
million.
He
That
also
move,
knew that the
most
immortal
likely
temple
even a
fair
martial
handing
god
over
would
the
not be
Sanctus
able to
was
block
actually
it.
forced
They
by
couldn't
the
help but
situation.
look at Senior
The
Lu
great
Chen
elder
and the
looked at
others.
everyone with a smile.
However, Senior
Although
Lu
it was
Chen and
forced
the
by the
others only
situation,
had cold
it was
smiles on their
undeniable that
faces.
everyone
They
present
didn't
was
care
a
at all.
heaven's wealth.
They knew
If
that
the
the armor
saintess could
Linling
walk
was
together
wearing
with
was
them,
extremely
it would be the
powerful,
saintess
able to
blessing
resist
and the
50%
immortal
of the
temple's
attacks
blessing.
of a half-martial
Among
god
them,
realm
he was
expert
most
and
optimistic
three
about the
full-powered
seventh
attacks
prince
of a
because the
first-layer
latter was
martial
a
god
trial
realm
challenger.
expert.
Although
Next
the
was
great
Duan
moon
Wu.
heavenly Yuan
This
wave was
child had
powerful,
awakened the
it
Duan
couldn't break
family's
through
first
Linling's
bloodline,
defense,
and his future
Rumble.
was limitless.
Under everyone's watchful eyes,
some people
the
are just
terrifying
making up the
light
numbers.
wave finally struck
Just as
Linling.
everyone was talking
But
politely,
in the end,
Duan
Linling
Wu
just stood
suddenly
there,
smiled
motionless,
and looked in a certain
Instead,
direction.
a crimson
Everyone
light
immediately
appeared
followed
in his
his
palm,
gaze and found that Duan
Linling
Wu
was
was
looking
looking
at
him
Linling,
lightly,
causing Lone
making
Star
up the
Tyrant's
numbers.
eyes to narrow.
Could it be that Duan
However,
Wu
he
mocked
also roared
Linling
as
"You
making
want
up
to
the
hurt
numbers?
me?" Dream
No
on.
one knew him,
Since
he
not
was the
even
leader.
immortal
He
temple,
naturally had
at this
countless
time,
treasures.
many people
However,
secretly laughed.
what Linling
The seventh
slapped out
prince
at him
also
was the
laughed
Bodhi testimony
sarcastically.
divine art.
How could a lowly commoner
this
compare
palm
to him?
caused Lone
Due
Star
to
Tyrant's
Linling's
armor
sudden
to
mention,
explode.
the first elder
Then
and the
blood
great
gushed
devil
out of his
sex
body
members
and he
furrowed their
smashed into
brows
the ground.
as they subconsciously
Looking
looked
at his
towards
legs again,
Linling's
they
side.
had been forcibly
They clearly
broken
did
by
not
Linling.
expect that this person would be
Silence.
so
The
unsociable and
surroundings
become
were
a thorn in their
completely
side.
However, when they looked
one
at
of
Linling,
Cloud
they were
Tower's
all
leaders had been
confused
defeated
because they had never seen
Furthermore,
this person
this
before.
leader was ranked in the top
he had a
300 on the
slight
god
impression
list.
of it, as
My
if he
lord,
had seen it
Gu
somewhere
Xingba's
before.
subordinates
For a
immediately
moment,
rushed
they couldn't
over,
remember
wanting
where
to
they
help
had
Gu
seen him
Xingba.
before.
However,
The
at
saintess
this
has
moment,
arrived.
Linling
At
also
this moment,
walked forward
a voice
step by
finally
step.
rang out. His
Causing
gaze
the
was cold as
surroundings
he
to
looked at those
instantly fall
subordinates.
silent.
With just a glance, those subordinates
Under
did
countless
not dare
gazes,
to help, and
a
quietly
white-clothed
retreated.
woman with a long
What
sword
do you want?
strapped to her waist
The Lone
slowly
Star
walked
Tyrant
towards
sat on
the
the central
ground and
region.
looked at Linling
Upon
with red
closer
eyes.
inspection,
This
however,
woman was
he was already
extremely
starting
beautiful,
to panic
like
in
a
his
snow
heart.
lotus
Bang.
on an icy
Linling
mountain.
didn't say
Her
anything.
appearance was
He kicked out
otherworldly
with
like a
great
fairy,
force, and her
sending
every
Lone Star
movement
Tyrant
carried a
flying
wisp
like a
of
sandbag.
celestial aura.
Along the way,
She was
he
like a
knocked
fairy
down
that had
countless
descended
experts.
from the nine heavens.
But in the end,
coupled
Lone
with the
Star
legend
Tyrant
of the
was
divine
blocked by those
fetus,
experts
the woman's
who
body
wanted to
was
help him out.
shrouded in a
However,
mysterious glow.
Linling had already
It was
walked
as if
over
this
again.
woman's sleeves were
Bang.
fluttering,
The wind
as if
cloud
she could
tower's
ride the
experts
wind and
suddenly
fly
felt their
away at
legs
any
go
moment.
soft.
Saintess. They
Many
didn't dare to
people's
support
eyes
the Lone Star
immediately
Tyrant
narrowed.
anymore and retreated.
So beautiful.
On the other hand,
More
the
people
Lone
licked their
Star
lips.
Tyrant who had just
In
been
their
supported
eyes,
fell to
the
the
misty
ground again,
rain made it
looking
seem
as if a
extremely
dreamlike
miserable.
goddess was slowly
Attack
walking
my people?
towards them. At this
Saintess,
moment, Linling
the
finally
seventh
spoke.
prince's complexion
Many
also
people knew
became
why
dignified.
Linling crippled Lone
His
Star
eyes were
Tyrant's
somewhat
legs.
hot,
And it was
an
an eye
eye
for an
heat
eye
that was determined
enough
to obtain her.
However,
If
at
the
this
saintess
time,
was only
a cold
based on her
voice interrupted
appearance,
Linling.
the seventh prince
The one
would
who
not
spoke
take a
was no
liking to
doubt
her.
Wind Cloud
However,
Tower's big leader,
the saintess
Yang
not only
Xiaolong.
had a fairy-like
At this
appearance,
moment, he was
but
holding
also
a halberd
possessed
in
a
his
rare
hand and
divine
his eyes
fetus,
were cold,
which made him extremely
Linling
eager
hitting
to
one of
act.
his men in front of
Now
him
that
was,
he had seen
in
the
fact,
saintess with
an
his own
insult
eyes,
to his
the
dignity.
seventh prince
It's been
discovered
a
that
long
in addition
time
to
since
these
someone
two major
dared to beat up
advantages,
my people
the
in front of
saintess
me.
also had an
It was
extremely
impossible for
attractive
Yang
temperament,
Xiaolong to
which
knock
was
him out.
indifference,
Because if he didn't
indifference
speak,
to everything
the
in the
entire
world.
Wind Cloud Tower
However,
would no longer
this
believe
temperament
him.
aroused the
Now,
seventh
haven't you
prince's
seen it?
possessiveness.
Linling
The more
stopped walking
indifferent
and
she
looked at
was,
Yang
the more he
Xiaolong
wanted to
indifferently.
break this rule
He
and make
obviously
this
knew
woman
that there would
his
be a
woman.
battle between
This
him
was the
and Wind
seventh
Cloud
prince's
Tower's
domineering
big leader
aura.
sooner or later.
On the other side,
because this was
Duan
also
Wuhan
a
was
battle
also
between
extremely
leaders.
excited
You
at this
think I'm
moment.
really afraid of
I didn't
you?
expect this
I'm only
saintess to
afraid
be
of
so
Lu Chen
beautiful.
and the others.
Coupled with her
Yang
divine
Xiaolong's
fetus
eyes
body
were cold, but he
She's
also looked at
mine.
Lu Chen and
He,
the other two
Duan
leaders
Wuhan,
with fear.
now had the
In
first
fact,
bloodline
their
of the
Wind
Duan
Cloud
family.
Tower was able
If
to
he could
become
get
one
a
of the
divine
10
fetus
overlords
body,
not because of
then
their
he
strength,
would be the first
but because
person
of their
in the
numbers.
history of the
They
Duan
had gathered
family.
many
It was
experts
even
from the
possible
36
for him to
academies,
surpass the
including
Duan
the new
lineage
generation
martial god,
king and
the
other
entire
outstanding
area,
talents,
and even the
However,
entire city.
in a one-on-one
Quieted
battle,
down
these
because of the
people were no
appearance
match
of a
for
Yue.
Lu Chen
It was
and the
as if
others.
countless
How about
ordinary
this?
stars
You and I
would
looking
fight.
at the bright
Whoever
moon in the
wins
sky
will have the right to However,
annex the others.
Yuer's expression was
At this
very
time,
calm.
Lin Ling
She also knew
spoke.
what was going to happen today.
Who do you think you are?
Regarding this,
Why should I fight?
she obviously refused in her heart.
Yang Xiaolong
However,
thought that the
she
God
knew that if she
Extermination Alliance
refused,
would send
the
out
immortal
Lu Chen
temple
for
would
this
be
battle.
eradicated.
Therefore, he
Although
didn't
the
want to
immortal
fight.
temple took her
After
away,
speaking,
they
he
treated her
waved his
very
hand
well.
and ordered his
The
men to
elders
take
of
the
the
entire
entire
immortal
tyrant away.
temple treated her
Then
as their
he slowly
granddaughter.
turned around.
She would remember
Wind
this
Cloud
kindness,
Tower's big
and she
leader.
would
Is
always
this all
remember
you've
it.
got?
Therefore,
After I stepped
regarding
on your
this
door
marriage
and
ceremony,
crippled your
she
subordinates'
did not
legs,
agree,
but she
the
also
big
did
leader,
not refuse.
can only run away
She
like a
even
tortoise.
kept asking herself
However,
who she
at
really
this time,
was.
a figure
Why did
shot
her
towards
heart
Yang
always hurt?
Xiaolong with a speed
Why did she
exceeding
always think of that
2,000 worlds?
blue-robed young man?
A sword seemed to fall from the sky and slash
Why,
down ruthlessly.
in her dusty memories,
it was Lin
there was a
Ling.
place that
Yang
constantly called
Xiaolong
out
didn't
to
want
her.
to fight just
Because
because
he
he
said
when
so,
she wanted to
Lin
unravel
Ling
the
wouldn't
layers
agree
of
to it.
fog,
She
At
still
this moment,
could not see
Yang
that
Xiaolong's
place.
expression
All of
changed
these mysteries
instantly
made
and
her
became
want
nothing
extremely
more than
ugly.
to tear them apart.
This big leader
However,
of the God
the great
Extermination
elder of
Alliance
the Immortal
was too
Temple
much,
had once
although
divined
they
for
had
her.
captured Tian
When she
Ao,
wanted to know
the God
everything,
Extermination
the
Alliance
truth would
had
be
also
revealed
killed
today,
many of their men,
including
and
the
crippled
things
one
she
of their
needed to
big
know.
leaders.
Everything
This
that she
matter
wanted
should
to
be
know,
even.
everything would come to an end
However,
today.
the big
It was
leader
also
of the
because
God
of this that she
Extermination
had
Alliance
come, was still unwilling to give
and
up
meet the
and wanted
seventh
to
prince.
attack him.
At
Tiger
this moment,
Halberd, the great elder's
however,
voice drifted
the
over,
terrifying
causing
power behind
Yuer
him
to
didn't allow
immediately
Yang
retract her
Xiaolong to
absent-minded
hesitate
gaze
any longer.
and look at a handsome
He
young
pointed
man.
the halberd in
The
his
seventh
hand at the
prince was
sky.
delighted.
Rumble.
He never
The
thought that he would be the
essence
first
of
to
the
be
martial
introduced.
god realm
This
burst out
meant that his
crazily.
chances were the
This was
greatest.
because Yang
He
Xiaolong
immediately
was a
stood up and
first-level
swept
martial
his
god
gaze
realm
over
expert,
all of his love rivals with
third
contempt.
in the newcomer king
He was
competition.
just about to speak.
His strength was
Senior
indeed
sister,
extraordinary.
I'm here.
In fact,
However,
Yang
at
Xiaolong
this
guessed
moment,
that this
an
move of his was
untimely
enough to
voice
make Lin
interrupted
Ling
him.
retreat in the face
Next,
of defeat.
on the other side,
Bang,
a
bang.
blue-robed young
However,
man
when
ignored
the halberd
everyone's
and sword
gazes
collided
and
in the
stood up with
sky,
a smile.
they were actually
Everyone
evenly
was
matched.
shocked. Neither
That blue-robed
side took
young
a step
man
back.
did not understand
This
etiquette
caused
at
the
all.
Fengyun Tower's
He
people
actually
to
turned
widen
from
their
guest to
eyes
host.
in disbelief.
After all,
Lin
the
Ling
great
held the
elder had
tyrannical
called the
song
seventh
sword in
prince
his hand
first.
and maintained the posture of
there will be a
slashing
good show
down.
to watch.
However, he said with contempt,
soon,
many people began to sneer
third
in the
inwardly.
newcomer king competition
Because the blue-robed young man did not
SOSO.
understand etiquette.
Hearing this,
he would definitely
Yang
be chased
Xiaolong's
away
face
by the
instantly
immortal
flushed
temple.
red and his eyes
Moreover,
burned like
did he
fire.
think that people would
Big
recognize
leader.
him just because he
The
shouted?
Fengyun Tower's
This
people
was
were
simply
shouting.
a joke.
However,
It's
Yang
him.
Xiaolong roared,
The seventh
"Get
prince
out of
was
my
stunned.
way."
Today,
Then he revealed
no one
a
is
mocking
allowed to
smile.
stop me.
Trying
Since
to
he
steal
wants
his
to die,
spotlight,
I'll fulfill
that would
his
depend
wish.
on whether or not
As
he
soon
was
as he
qualified.
finished speaking,
However,
the talent
in
in
his
his
body
body
did not
finally
see the crowd's
erupted,
mockery at all,
forming a terrifying
Instead,
wave of
she looked
air
at the
that rushed
blue-robed
out.
young man not
Lin
far
Ling
away
also
in
used this
surprise.
momentum to
At
retreat.
this moment,
He
her
landed on the
frozen heart
ground
was
and looked at
moved.
Yang
It
Xiaolong
began
with
to
a smile.
shatter.
This
This
guy.
him. Now is the time to fight. Almost at the same time, a dazzling golden
Chapter
tiger soared into the
39:30.
sky and roared
Holding your
angrily in
hand
the
and
forest.
growing old together.
However,
Because
this
she'd
wasn't
been
the end.
constantly thinking
Another
about that
pure
mysterious
white, holy
blue-robed young
and
man
flawless
throughout
white
these
lion
years.
rushed out and
Even if she
squatted
still
in the
hadn't
sky,
found her memories,
impenetrable
she really
by all
missed
evil.
that blue-robed young
Finally,
man for
an
some
ancient
unknown
azure
reason.
dragon appeared.
Even though the
It hovered
blue-robed
in the
young
sky
man
and told her
emitted
everything
a power
about
that
him
could control one's soul.
It wasn't her memories.
The ultimate ninth
So
grade
she
desolate
returned to the
physique,
temple in an
the
attempt
tiger,
to find
lion,
everything
and
she had
dragon
lost.
saint physique.
Unfortunately, she wasn't able to find any memories in the
Chapter
end.
39:17.
The day of
The
the
true
wedding will
copy
be the
of
day
raging
to end
thunder.
everything for
I've
you.
finally gathered
She
enough.
suddenly remembered
An
what
old
the
man
great
from
elder had
Fengyun
said
Tower
after the
exclaimed
divination.
excitedly.
Could it be
The
because of
tiger,
him?
lion,
Under
and
countless
dragon
gazes,
saint physiques
and
required one to
moved
possess the
gracefully
saint dragon,
and actually
saint
walked
lion,
step by
and
step
saint
towards
tiger
the
physiques.
blue-robed young man.
Moreover,
At this
these
moment,
three
the
physiques were
hearts
weak
of
at the
countless
beginning.
people
They
exploded.
were the fusion of the
This,
snake,
cow,
what's
and
going
dog
on?
physiques. Isn't the holy
However,
maiden
as they
an
continued
ice
to
beauty?
evolve,
Why
they
did she
gradually
run over
became the
after being
dragon,
seduced by
lion,
someone
and
else?
tiger physiques.
You must be
After
seeing
arriving
things.
at the ancient
Look
dragon
again if you
desolate
don't
land,
believe me.
Yang Xiaolong
Screw your
purchased
eyesight.
the blood essence
I
of the
rubbed my
saint
eyes
dragon,
and looked
saint
again,
lion,
but the
and
holy
saint
maiden
tiger
is indeed
physiques
walking
and
towards
finally
the
advanced
blue-robed
to the
young
saint
man.
physique.
According
Following
to
that,
legend,
numerous
one could even
exclamations of
advance
shock
to the
could be
god
heard.
realm in the end.
You've come.
After the three
And
saint
Yuer's
physiques
speed was
appeared,
slow at first,
Yang
but she
Xiaolong
gradually
sped
sped
up,
up,
causing
Lin
the
Ling
clouds to
also
change
walked
color.
out with a smile.
Senior Lu Chen
His
looked.
handsome face
The
had
leader
a hint
of the
of excitement.
God-slaying alliance
I'm
approached
coming.
Lu Chen and
No
Yang
matter where you
Xiaolong.
are, I'll come.
He frowned and said,
In just a few
should
steps,
we make a move? Lin Ling had already
Let's take a look
arrived in
first.
front of Yuer.
However,
the
Lu
two of
Chen
them
shook
seemed
his
to
head.
ignore everyone
present,
in the world
he had
as
no
they looked
idea
at each
what
other
Lin Ling's
indifferently.
strength was.
Perhaps in their
After
eyes,
all,
ever
the
since
worlds
they
had
formed an
already
alliance,
disappeared,
and
Lin
the
Ling
only
had been
thing
collecting
left was
treasures
each
and the
other.
god-slaying
It was like a
alliance
marriage
had dealt
that
with his
spanned
opponents.
thousands of generations.
However,
Lu Chen
I
believed
knew you would
that
come
Lin
today.
Ling wasn't that
My
simple.
intuition told
After
me
Yang
on the day
Xiaolong
of the
activated
divination.
the three saint
And Yuer
physiques,
was also
his aura
very
rose
excited.
steadily. She
Then,
suddenly
suddenly smiled. He sensed the respectful gazes around him, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. Light. Now, everyone's jaws dropped as the members were even more respectful to him. The Iceberg Beauty also smiled. Alliance's members this was even rarer than snow in June. Moreover, he looked at Lin Ling with disdain and smiling for the blue-robed young man. Give you a chance. This time, use your talent. Not only were the people shocked, even the heavenly tycoons were enraged to use my talent. Among them, Lin Ling shook his head calmly. Wuhan stood the moment his words came out, as if they had been struck dumb. Members roared, especially the seventh prince, ignorance, who was the first to be introduced and was planning to bask the great leader of the gods-slaying alliance. Had some ability. The outcome was that the light that belonged to him was also a great leader, and his strength was young man. In
One
front
had
of
to know
Yang
that he had previously mocked the
actually
blue
said that he
youth
wasn't
for being a
qualified.
fake.
Could it
But
be
now,
that this
he was like a
mysterious
toad
great
lusting
leader of
after
the
a
God-slaying
swan?
alliance
You?
thought of himself
That's enough.
as the number one
The
newcomer
seventh
king?
prince immediately
Yang Xiaolong
roared.
was stunned.
Shut up.
Then,
However,
he flew into
Lin
a
Ling
rage
did not
and
even
attacked
look at
Lin
him.
Ling without another
His
word.
eyes were still looking
Long
at him,
Yu Aotian,
and gradually
under his
became
feet,
gentle.
an azure dragon
You've lost
immediately
weight.
appeared, carrying him towards Lin Ling with
A soft
awe-inspiring
voice came out of
might.
Lin Ling's mouth.
His speed had reached
Yeah, you do.
2,500
And
world
nodded
speed.
and looked at Lin
This
Ling
speed
with
was
concern.
even faster than Lin Ling's
Along the
current
way,
speed.
there had been a lot of
Lin
troubles.
Ling tightened his
Perhaps
grip
it's
on the
because of
tyrannical
this that
song
you've lost
sword
weight.
in his hand. But in the
Just
end,
as he
I
tightened
still
his
found
grip,
you. Yang
Lin
Xiaolong's
Ling's fist
smiled and a
arrived
blue
like the
lotus
roar of a
appeared in his
holy
hand.
tiger.
Then
This was
he
the
held
punch
Yu
of a
Er's hand and
first-level
gently
martial
placed it
god.
on her small
However,
hand.
Lin Ling's
Hold it
fleshly
and you'll
body was
remember
strong,
everything.
and his sixth
And Yu Er
stanchions
did not
immediately
reject and
merged
allowed
together.
Lin Ling to hold her
Peak
small
ancestral
hand.
power was
Then
also
she held the
ruthlessly
bright blue
slashed
lotus.
out. This lotus looked ordinary,
When
but
the
it
fists
emitted a
collided,
gentle light
the
that made
swords were
Yu
like
Er
metal
feel
colliding.
extremely
The
comfortable.
two of them were
I
actually
like it a
evenly
lot.
matched.
And Yu
This
Er
also
suddenly
made
smiled
everyone's
like a little
pupils
girl.
constrict.
It was as if
Lin
there was
Ling
some
also
kind of
smiled.
disbelief in their
However,
throats,
he
but
knew
they
that
could
this
not
blue
spit it
lotus
out.
was not simple.
Yang
It was
Xiaolong
the three
maintained his punching
lifetimes
posture, but behind
bridge
him,
of
a
helplessness.
golden light flashed,
It could restore
and a
one's
sword
memory
slashed
and
at him.
unlock all
This
seals.
was the sacred
This
tiger's
rare
tail.
divine flower was
Moreover,
bought by Lin
the
Ling at
distance
God's
was so
store at a high
close that no
price.
one could react
Then
in time.
he quietly
However,
held Yu Er's
the
hand,
people who could
and
not
the two
react
of them
in
seemed
time
to
did
have walked
not
through
include
thousands
Lin
of
Ling.
centuries.
Lin Ling
And
was
Yu
still holding
didn't
his
react at
sword
first,
but the
but
true
gradually,
inheritance
her
dark
eyes
sword
began to
flew out
change
from the
because the
sword
scene
locked
around
behind
her
him.
had
The
completely
18
changed.
immortal swords
She
danced
seemed to
back
have
and
returned
forth,
to the Gu Yen
crisscrossing
sect.
back and forth.
She even saw
and
that
actually
stubborn
sped
youth.
towards Yang
It was
Xiaolong's
Lin Ling.
sword. Everything was quietly
the golden
returning to
sword
him
was
at this
immediately
moment.
blocked by the
She
true
seemed to be walking
inheritance
on a
dark
small
sword,
road in the
and it
countryside
returned
with
to
the
its
youth
original
under the
form.
warm sun.
It was actually the
surroundings
tail
were
of a
very
divine
peaceful,
tiger,
and the little
great
flowers
realms
by the
the tiger's
roadside
roar
were very beautiful.
Yang Xiaolong was
Gradually,
shocked by
the
Lin Ling's
heaven
means,
mystic's
but
kingdom
he was also
changed,
furious
and her
in his
clan
heart.
was annihilated.
He wanted to fight
However,
against him
it
without
was the
using
youth
his
who
talent.
descended from the sky,
He roared
holding her
furiously,
hand, and a
when
blinding
she was at
light
her
shot out
weakest,
from his
he
mouth,
brought her through
and
the
a
wind
deafening
and
lion
rain.
tiger's
Her
roar
eyes
erupted.
gradually became
Lin Ling
moist.
was very close to
Her
him.
memories
At
were
this
constantly
moment, his
recovering.
eyes flickered slightly,
Finally,
and
it
he
stopped at the
unleashed his full
Taiyuan River,
speed.
quickly
The youth
retreating.
of the past had become
Even the
an
tyrannical
indomitable
song
expert.
sword
Was
He
temporarily
stepped into the
ignored.
forbidden ground
Return.
alone, walked
As he
through
drifted
thousands
back,
of mountains
Lin
and
Ling
rivers,
also let
and
out a low
finally
roar.
found her.
The 18 true inheritance dark
and Yu
swords
Er's
flew in
change was
front of Lin
obviously
Ling
noticed
and
by the
kept
Grand
spinning,
Elder, forming
he
a sword
immediately
shield,
frowned, stared at the blue
bang,
lotus,
bang,
and finally
the light
sighed
waved
softly.
that Yang Xiaolong
He
spat
once
out
divined
hit
in
the
Yu
sword
Er's
shield,
fate and knew
and
that in Yu
countless
Er's
golden
fate would end
stars
today.
bloomed.
Therefore,
So
he
powerful,
also agreed
this
to start
person
this
is a
wedding
true
ceremony.
expert swordsman.
However, he
Seeing
never
Lin
expected
Ling
that the
casually
person controlling the
fate
sword
was actually
many
that
people
youth.
in Fengyun
It's
Tower
him,
exclaimed.
I finally remember.
Even Yang Xiaolong
Yes.
was shocked. The
This
first elder
Lin Ling
muttered
really
to
had
himself.
many swords.
He remembered
and
Lin
each
Ling.
sword was at the
That
peak of
youth
ancestor
seemed to be
power.
from Qingzhou.
He really
and in
didn't
the
know
past,
how he
he was an
cultivated.
extremely
Boom.
weak existence.
As he was thinking about
At that
this,
time, he
the
also
roar
met
of
him
the
once.
lion and tiger
He even
finally
saw Lin
disappeared.
Ling pestering the
It was
Saint
blocked
Lady,
by the
so he
sword and
also
shield.
let the Saint Lady
Then
kill
the
Lin Ling.
18 true inheritance nether
Lin
swords
Ling
was
also
stabbed
dispersed
by the Saint Lady.
However,
after
in the
dispersing,
days after
people
that,
found that
he
the
found that the
blue-robed
Saint
young
Lady
man,
seemed to
who
have
was behind
something
the
on her
sword and
mind
shield,
every day.
had a
huge bone dragon bow in his hand.
The sixth
Moreover,
arrow,
through
what is
continuous
5?
observation,
1,
he knew that the
suffering
Saint
day and
Lady
night,
was
leading
heartbroken
to
for that
calamity.
youth.
2,
This also
1 is
made
full,
him
many
secretly
are full.
investigate the youth's
3,
background.
sin weapon staff,
He found out
eagle,
that the youth's
snake,
background
wolf,
was
dog.
very ordinary,
4, either
and he was
dragon,
not worthy
god,
of the immortal
heaven,
temple
or ghost.
Saint Lady.
5.
However,
if you fall
now
into this
he
prison,
finally knew how
10,000
terrifying that
deaths
youth
and
was.
10,000 lives.
He actually rose step
6,
by step from a
continuous,
passerby,
so-called
and
seamless.
even reached this place.
Seamless.
It was easy
Ancient
to say, but the
Sanskrit
process
also
was
spread
difficult.
out in the sky.
He could imagine.
Not good.
That young man
Yang
really liked the
Xiaolong's
Saintess.
pupils violently
Perhaps
trembled.
this is karma.
When he came to his senses,
Sigh.
black and
The
white
grand elder
intersected
sighed
in his
his
heart.
eyes.
It was like an
Compared to his
arrow that
soft
fused
sigh,
hell and
the
heaven.
heavenly heroes were
Dragon
furious.
scale. That was because that blue-robed
Young
youth was
Xiaolong
actually
immediately
holding the Saint
roared,
Lady's hand.
and countless
Not
azure
only
dragon
that, he
scales
actually
appeared
gave her a
around his
flower,
body,
forming
forming
a small
shield.
The Saint Lady
Rumble.
actually accepted
However,
that flower,
when the black and
and
white
she even
arrow
looked
shot
very
over,
happy.
it pushed him
This made
thousands
their
of miles
jealousy
away
erupt
before
like a
exploding.
volcano.
Boom.
In fact,
Endless Buddhist
many people
lights
had
scattered,
already prepared
illuminating
bright
the
flowers,
land.
but because they
The
could not give
excitement
them
of this
away,
battle
they
between
were
the
so
leaders had
angry that their
undoubtedly
teeth were
far
itching.
exceeded people's imaginations.
It's just a lousy lotus.
No one expected
It's
that
a
Lin
disgrace
Ling would
to
be
the
able to
Saint
fight
Lady's
young
status.
Xiaolong until now,
Sigh.
and not be at
Someone
a
who
disadvantage.
couldn't eat the grapes
Most
sneered.
importantly,
That's right,
Lin Ling
that
had
lotus
not
doesn't
used
have
his
any
talent.
power.
It
Tiger
must be a
dragon
cheap
dual
item.
form. And at
Someone
this
else
moment,
added,
Yang
because they
Xiaolong
could not
appeared in
see
the
the
Buddhist
origin
light.
of the three
Blood
lives
seeped
through
out from the
world's
corner
bridge
of his mouth.
helplessness.
Clearly,
Their words
he
were
was
also
injured.
sour.
His hands
However,
struck out
for those who were
wildly,
watching the
and a
show,
dragon
they
and
did not
tiger
see it that
intertwined,
way, roaring as they shot out.
Crackle.
Endless thunder boomed in the sky, and
Chapter
the wind
39
and clouds stirred.
31.
The dragon
Selecting
and
a
tiger
son-in-law
had drawn out
The
the momentum
surrounding
of
scene
dragon
also
and tiger.
changed because of this.
What a powerful,
In the
desolate
end,
physique.
they even saw
It
that
actually
under the
blocked
light
my
of the
arrow.
lotus,
It
it
was
was
already a young man
leaped
and a
up.
young woman.
He stretched
They
out
held
his right
hands
hand
and bathed
and
in
the
the
tyrannical
warm sunlight,
song sword
representing
shot into
pure
it.
love.
He stretched out his
So
left hand,
beautiful,
and endless
Finally,
light shot out
an
from
old
the
man
sky.
shouted.
The 18
This
nether
sentence
swords
also
shrunk,
caused many people to nod
transforming
their
into a
heads,
huge
because
golden
in their
sword.
eyes, the young
Clank.
woman was
The two
holy
swords
and the young
crossed in
man
front
was
of him,
handsome,
and
they were like a
shot
match
out.
made in heaven.
Let's see if
Holding
your dragon
hand
and tiger
growing
are
more
more
powerful
powerful
than my dual swords.
especially for some
Everyone
women.
heard this
This
sentence.
scene was romantic
Following
and
that,
beautiful.
sword beams
They also
flashed,
hoped that
and
in the
demonic
future
and
there would be a
immortal
man
chi
holding their
intertwined with
hand
each
under
other.
countless
They
gazes,
were extremely
going
sharp,
through all kinds of
Gotcha.
ups and downs.
Under countless
The
gazes,
entire
the
ancient
dragon
city
and
was
tiger were cut in
undoubtedly
half
silent.
by the dual swords.
This kid, what a
Shocking
good
method.
everyone.
The
Yang
unrestrained
Xiaolong's eyes
sword
widened.
martial god kept
He was a
looking
martial
at Lin
god,
Ling,
and
the
he had a
corners of
ninth
his
grade
mouth
talent.
curved into an
That guy had
excited
actually
smile.
cut his dragon
He clearly
and
did
tiger
not
in
expect
half.
that Lin
Could it
Ling would
be
be
that
able
the
to win
sword
the
in his
heart of
hand
the
had the
immortal
power
temple
of a god?
sanctus from the hands of
True
the Tianhao.
raging lightning
This
of
was a
startling
ruthless
heaven.
slap to the
Suddenly,
faces of those
Yang
Tianhao.
Xiaolong roared
Didn't
at the
you
sky.
say that I was just making up the numbers? Didn't you say that I was a
Chapter
toad?
39:18.
Now, the Saintess's hand was
Feng Yun
held
Tower,
by him,
destroyed.
Then who was the toad?
As for the real book
this was
he was
not only a
reciting,
slap,
he had bought
it
it
was
from
a
the shop of
refreshing
gods.
slap.
With the
gentle
three
lights
saints in his
gradually
body
disappeared.
It had the same
The light
effect
was
as
gorgeous
Lin Ling's
and
talent
blurry,
fusion.
but the young
The
man and
difference
young
was that
woman in the
Lin
light
Ling's
talent
slowly
fusion
grew up,
could fuse
and
with
everything
anything
returned
as
to
long as
normal
it was
in the
a
end.
high-level talent.
However,
on
the
the other
one who
hand,
changed
the
was
raging
Yue,
thunder true
because
origin,
her
could
delicate
only
little
fuse
face
with
was
the three
already
saints.
full of tears.
It was a divine
the tears
ability
fell on
that
the
came
ground
with the
like
three
blooming
saint flowers.
physiques.
Lin Ling.
Under
Under
Xiaolong's
shocked
aura
gazes,
rose steadily,
she suddenly
ancient
hugged
azure
Lin
dragon
Ling
scales
and cried
appeared
like a
on the
little girl.
surface of his body.
Meanwhile,
A dragon
Lin
armor
Ling
appeared
also
on his
smiled
forehead,
excitedly.
a tiger
Senior
claw on his
Sister
left
Yue
arm,
finally
a
recovered her
lion claw
memories,
on his right arm,
and his legs turned
Seeing
into the
this,
legs of a
the eyes
ferocious
of the
beast.
Tianhao were
A
spitting
fatal
fire.
aura erupted
Alright,
from his
Senior
body.
Sister Yue,
The
you
experts
go
of Feng Yun
first.
Tower were
At
all
this
stunned.
time,
Lin
boom,
Ling patted
as
in
Yang
Yue's shoulder
Xiaolong
and
took a
said,
step forward,
this pat
the
once
ground
again
split
caused an
open,
uproar
and
among the
countless
Tianhao.
ancient barren
Everyone wanted
mountains
to
shot
shot
up
into
into
the
the
sky,
Ling's arm,
tumbling in the
no,
air like
I
rice
want to go with
straws.
you.
As
However,
for the weaker
and
half-step
Yue
martial
stubbornly
gods,
shook her head.
they were sent flying
Lin
into
Ling
the sky
smiled and said confidently,
Yang Xiaolong's
we have been
strength
separated
was
for
terrifying.
so many years.
He was like one of the
Since
three
we met
holy
again,
gods from
let's
the
treat
ancient
it as
era
me
of the
marrying
gods.
you again.
At this moment,
I want
he
you to
was
come back in
walking
glory,
step by
and
step
I want
towards
everyone
his
to
prey.
know that you are
Looking
my
at Yang
Lin
Xiaolong's
Ling's
appearance,
woman.
the corners
Lin
of Lin
Ling's
Ling's
last
eyes
sentence was
curled
filled
into
with
a
a
cold,
man's sneer.
domineering aura
He clearly
and
sensed that
unwavering
Yang
determination
Xiaolong
had
and
cultivated some kind of ability that allowed his
man in
talent
front of
to
her
touch
with
her
her
10th
beautiful
grade.
eyes.
However,
She was stunned
Yang
for a moment
Xiaolong
before
the
she
only
nodded.
one with talent?
Although she didn't know
Endless
why
smoke
Lin Ling
emanated
said
from
that,
Lin
she
Ling's
believed
body,
in Lin Ling.
and darkness
I'll
descended.
wait for you.
Black
And
Yue
completely
looked
black.
at Lin Ling
There was
reluctantly
even
and
the
walked
roar
over
of
to
an
the
angry
first
dragon.
elder. However, the
I'll
great
wait
leader
for
of
you
the God-Slayer
undoubtedly
Alliance
broke the
also
hearts of
possesses
countless
the
people.
innate talent of dragons.
It
was as if they were watching a
dragon.
beautiful woman
How
leave,
can it compare
as if
to
they
the
were
great
watching
leader?
a powerful
The
divine
great leader
fetus
has been
fly away
practicing martial
and land
arts
on the
since
blue
young
robe
and has
youth's
long
body.
defeated countless
Then,
experts
the
with the
blue-robed
dragon
youth
talent.
sullied it. The people
How
from
could they
Wind
swallow
Cloud
this
Tower
anger?
were stunned for a moment
First
before
elder,
a faint smile
Duan
appeared on their
Wuhan
faces.
immediately roared
Rumble.
out.
However, at this
the first
time,
elder didn't
ominous
pay
auras
attention to
filled
him.
the sky and
Instead,
covered the sun.
he looked at
It was as if
and saw
doomsday
that her
was coming.
eyes were much clearer.
Moreover,
He
people
also
could faintly
knew that
see
the
jellyfish
jellyfish had
flying
recovered
in
her
the sky.
memories.
It was
After
extremely
recovering her
terrifying.
memories,
The
those
Saintess was no
jellyfish were
longer
like
as
evil
flawless
spirits
as she
from
was
the
in the
underworld.
past. After
This
the
made him
smoke
sigh in his
dissipated,
heart. A monster appeared before everyone's eyes. He didn't want the Saintess to recover her memories. Of Storm Tower this was ever because the Saintess was flawless. Moreover, and untainted by the mortal world. Enormous pressure she shouldn't have any mortal memories. That feeling was like a strong personal point of view against their faces, was happy for the making Saintess. It difficult for them to breathe. This was because he had been with the Saintess all these years. Xiaolong's eyes narrowed. He had carefully guided the Saintess just as he wanted the Saintess to take over the immortal temple. His speed had reached 2,900 even if he was unfeeling and callous like an evil Buddha, split second, he was still landing moved on by that kind of affection, with a loud and boom. That was familial love. He clearly regarded Yuer as his azure dragon scales, and even caused when Yang Xiaolong's internal organs to shift. If the Saintess could be happy, he would rather the Saintess follow that steps. First Elder. At this moment, the black shadow rushed over to the First Elder. The dragon claw suddenly clenched into a fist and blasted out again. The saintess meaning. Bang, bang, bang. She wanted the wedding ceremony to continue again. But his pupils were wide open. The First Elder couldn't help but glance at Lin Ling. A vicious aura arrived in front of his eyes that with Lin Ling alone, two enormous dragon tails swept out. Boom. If the wedding ceremony is interrupted, those guys will use it as a pretext to make a fuss. The huge plate. And Yuera the surroundings smiled. Became even more silent. But compared to the immortal temple, innate power of the God Slayer Alliance's great leader, the First Elder sighed, the people of suddenly transmitted his voice as if they were suffocating. He didn't seem like an evil Buddha who killed people like many of them roared and rushed towards the huge crater. He was more like an old man who was worried about his granddaughter. Cooperated and finally carried Yang Xiaolong out. Evil also had emotions. Looking at Yang Xiaolong again, don't worry, he no longer had the majestic aura of a dragon, tiger, this and made lion. The First Elder his frown. Azure scales were tattered, and his masculine face was distorted. How powerful the Tianhao spurted out from the corner of his mouth, things had come to and his teeth were also spat out. Next, then his entire ceremony will continue and returned to his original form. When his voice was heard, his expression was extremely dispirited. The people who were watching the show clearly didn't want things to end so quickly. And then he spat out because they were here to broaden their horizons. Everyone looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Who was more nouveau riche and could throw out a large number of divine artifacts. Tentacles were dancing behind the Tianhao, giving people a sense of fear. Previously, they had thought that the duck in their mouth would fly away. He didn't know why Lin Ling could beat him so easily, and knew how to feeling that this monster's innate talent had looked at Lin Ling mockingly, as if mocking Lin Ling for being weak and didn't dare to stay any longer, and shouted in embarrassment. Even if he won the Saintess heart, at this moment, it was useless many people because the Saintess belonged to Yang Xiaolong. In this world, that they had strength is everything. And this was because the founding alliance hadn't made a move yet. That's right. If the founding alliance doesn't understand this yet, they would have lost in the future even more miserably. I believe she will understand. No matter how one looks at it, the so-called love is actually built on strength. Much stronger than that kid is Tower. So pitiful. The funny thing was that they actually dared to capture people from the God Slayer alliance. He will suffer a fate worse than disband. From now on, he will drown his sorrows in alcohol among the 10 overlords. He might even get drunk to death. Yang Xiaolong smiled bitterly and finally couldn't help but say this. Duan Wuhen and the seventh prince looked at each other and raised their wine tower's experts darkened. Then, the two of them looked at Lin Ling at the God Slayer alliance. Although they didn't say a word, their eyes were full with a few of his subordinates. In fact, he knew that it would be difficult for him to lead and drank without saying anything after his defeat. Great Elder, looking at Yang Xiaolong and his subordinates leaving, Lin Ling didn't chase after them. Condition and then keep sifting through was a real man who kept his word. Those who are just here to make up the numbers. Lin Ling decided to spare his life. At that moment, someone spoke up. Then Lin Ling ignored the compare strength experts and turned around to leave and background. No matter what, he didn't care about the has to find a good family to because the mission to collect the golden fleece flower was over. The others immediately agreed. What he wanted to do now was to go to the god's store to buy treasures in Yuera again. However, because he knew that once he agreed, the other leaders were very turning back. They immediately took in the someone won in the end and it wasn't Lin Ling, this time Yuera couldn't go back on her Alliance's members. Otherwise, the immortal temple would be destroyed. After the Fengyun Tower's destruction, countless rumors spread in the ancient dragon wasteland. Chapter 39-32 used to be one of the overlords with the most people. They had the leader of an overlord also eliminated. Taking a step back, the Heaven Alliance Wuhan also had a great background. It's the God Slayer Alliance. He was a leader of the Heavenly Alliance. This God Slayer Alliance on behalf of the Heavenly Alliance. They were even weaker than the 100 Worlds Alliance with others at all. Then I heard that the God Slayer Alliance's leader cursing inwardly, the First Elder looked at the crowd helplessly and said, Tower's leader was defeated and handed over the Maiden is a divine fetus. Moreover, so anyone who wants to be a match for her must be someone with mysterious and secretive leader. Suddenly, the God Slayer Alliance really has a leader behind the scenes, great talent, so great status, and great background. Without a doubt. The 10 overlords of the ancient dragon wasteland had undergone changes. There's no number of overlords that remained was getting is a joyous day. Smaller. More in the following days, the Heaven Alliance intending to use the Northern Dragon Ice Nation out the candidates and the Tiandi League. The first was the Northern Dragon Ice Nation Alliance was completely destroyed, and another overlord when it came to talent,
All the
As for the
Tianhao
Tiandi
experts
League,
smiled
they were
confidently.
smarter and chose
Since
to hide.
they were able to become
For the time
Tianhao
being,
experts,
they were still
how could their
alive.
talent be weak?
The Heaven
You
Alliance's
actually want to
momentum
compare
soared
talents?
to the sky.
This old
Next,
man is
they
untalented,
attacked the
so I'll
Freedom Sword
borrow a
Alliance,
clover to test
almost
you.
annihilating
At this
the
moment,
alliance.
a respected
From the looks
senior
of it,
smiled
the Heaven
faintly
Alliance
and waved
seemed
his
to
right
want to
hand.
annihilate
A
all the
stream
other
of light
alliances.
appeared and
This
landed on the
made
ground.
many people speculate that the
it
next one
quietly
to be
grew,
annihilated
and a
would be the
fragrance
Godslayer
quietly
Alliance.
spread out. Clover? This is the 3 Leaves Old Man.
Chapter 39:19.
Many people stared at that senior and
like
suddenly
crazy.
understood. The leader,
This person
the
was a
7th
martial
prince,
god,
was rumored to be a
famous in the final
participant
world.
of the deity realm.
He was a duke
and had a
Senior,
romantic
I want to
love
buy some
story with his
treasures.
wife.
At
Thus,
this moment,
he was
the
extremely
number of
loyal
people
to
in
love
God's
and would
shop
help
had
his loved
decreased
ones
by a lot.
The
A
3-leaf
mysterious
clover was
person wearing a
cultivated
cloak
by him.
quietly
Not
appeared
only
in
could
front
it
of
be
the
used
shop.
to test one's
Under
talent,
the cloak,
it could also
there was
be used
also
to
a
assist
handsome
one's
face.
cultivation. The old man
According
in the
to
shop
legend,
frowned
when
and was
one's
about to
talent
curse.
reached a certain
He
level,
obviously
the
thought that this
3-leaf person
clover
was
would
here to
bloom.
release a
The
smoke
more
bomb
beautiful
again.
the flower,
However,
the
at this
higher
moment,
the talent.
a bamboo
If he
pipe
could make the
appeared in
flower
the
soar into the
mysterious person's
sky,
hand,
that
and
would
he
be a
started
beautiful
smoking
and
calmly.
shocking thing.
The old man was
All right,
stunned.
let's use the
Speaking of
3-leaf
which,
clover.
he had seen people
Many
release
people
smoke
nodded
bombs
in
before,
agreement, but he had
Today
never
was the
seen
wedding
someone
day.
release smoke
In order
bombs
to please
so
the beauty,
arrogantly.
it was
When
better to
people
use
saw him,
beautiful
they
and
were all
romantic
respectful.
things.
The
This
clover
guy was
represented
actually smoking,
love, so it was very
That's not
suitable.
right.
The
I'll go
smell of the
first.
smoke is so
After the
familiar.
3-leaf clover
The
grew
old
on the
man
ground,
almost cursed it out
prideful
loud,
Tianhao
but he
walked up to
immediately
it.
became
When he
suspicious.
got close,
A
he took a
mysterious
deep
force
breath of the
rushed
smoke,
into the
and his
3-leaf
expression
clover.
changed
The
drastically.
3-leaf clover that was as tall as a person
isn't this the
swayed
Curation's
quietly.
shredded tobacco?
Suddenly, a flower bud
I'm
bloomed.
here to buy some things.
It was about the size
heard
of a
that with
palm and
shredded
was pitch
tobacco,
black. Everything is
this guy's
50%
talent
off.
is really ugly.
Seeing that
He
the old
actually
man
has a
had
black
reacted,
flower,
the mysterious
and it's only the
person
size of a
laughed.
palm.
50%
I'm
off?
afraid it's only
No
a
problem.
4th-grade talent.
Speaking of which, little
Shameful.
friend, did you
Seeing
just come
this,
from the Curation?
many people immediately
the old man
laughed
immediately said
sarcastically.
with a smile.
Tianhao's
This
expression
also
made
made
the
the
people
people
who were secretly watching the shop from
In the
afar
end,
all
he left the
dumbfounded.
central region
Smile?
with his tail
This
between
was
his
the
legs.
first time they had seen that bad-tempered senior smile
Obviously,
obsequiously.
he also knew that
That's
although
right,
his
and
identity
the shredded
was not
tobacco
bad
was
and
given
he had a
by
strong
Sister
background,
Tsuehua.
his talent was not very good and he was
nodded.
eliminated.
After
If
hearing
you
that
want
it
the
was
flower
Sister
to bloom
Tsuehua,
brilliantly,
the old man
then you need to
finally
be talented.
confirmed everything.
If you want the flower
Next,
to
he
bloom high
displayed
enough
all
to
the
reach the
treasures.
9 heavens,
The
then you
mysterious
need to be
person was
strong.
Lin Ling.
The 3
Now,
leaves
he
old
was
man
finally going to
explained
make
with
a big
smile.
purchase.
Let me.
Divinity by
Another
Bai
Tianhao
Bai.
had made his move,
Lin Ling
displaying
stared
his
at the
talent
martial
and
arts
strength.
mystiques.
Bang.
He was going to
The
buy a lot
clover
of them.
shot out like a
These were
firework,
prepared for
blooming
you,
into a beautiful
Grandpa,
flower
and the
bud in the
others,
sky,
mystical
shocking the
treasures.
entire city.
I want the
Because
fruit of
this flower
fortune.
was
By
incomparably
all
gorgeous.
the immortal fruits
It
for me
instantly
too.
moved the
And the
hearts
demigod
of many
divine
girls.
pill,
The
I
flower
want it
is
too.
not bad. Unfortunately,
heart of the
the
battle
color
god.
is too dim.
Lin Ling
Let me do
continued
it.
to calculate the
Another
prices and
Tianhao had
purchased
made
them
his
in a
move.
frenzy.
He was
Then
not weak
he looked
and could
at the
make
number
the
1
flower
legacy
soar to the
treasure.
9 heavens.
At this moment,
Most importantly,
the price of these
his
4
flower
legacy
was
treasures
obviously
was
bigger
finally
than the previous
revealed.
one.
100
This
million
Tianhao's talent
golden
had
fleece
probably
flower.
reached the 7th
Lin
grade.
Ling sucked
The
in a
crowd
cold
was
breath.
suddenly in an
He
uproar.
was certain that other
However,
than him,
the
no
more
one else
powerful
could by
Tianhao
the
had yet
entire
to come.
ancient dragon
This was
desolate
because
land.
someone's talent had
I want
reached
the
the 8th
inheritance
grade.
treasure
He
of
was like the
fire.
king of flowers.
Lin Ling roared.
After blooming,
Even though he
the
had
sky
always
was
been
filled
calm,
with brilliant
he almost
light.
went crazy at this moment. After
The
activating
inheritance
it,
treasure
he
of the gods
immediately
was
looked
said
at
to be the
Annuaire,
treasure vault
wanting to
of the
please
gods.
the beauty.
However,
Of course,
after the gods
Annuaire
fell,
still
the
looked at
treasure
him
vault
coldly.
was left behind.
There's no 8th grade talent.
There
Looks
was no
like he's
need
going
to
to be
imagine how
eliminated.
terrifying the treasures
As time
inside
passed,
were.
many people
For this
also
reason,
saw some
Lin Ling
shortcomings.
had given up on the
They're all
divine
a bunch
embryo.
of insignificant
That's right.
people.
I bought it at half
At this
price.
time,
This
Duan
means
Wuhan
that I
finally
can buy the
walked out
gods'
and
legacy
displayed his
treasure for
talent.
only 50 million.
In the sky,
And
then,
unprecedentedly
for the rest of the golden
huge
fleece
petal
flower,
bloomed.
I'll buy
It
all
was
the
green.
divine and divine
After appearing
weapons
in the
treasures.
sky, it was
If there are any
incomparably
remaining
huge
golden
and
fleece flowers,
extremely beautiful.
buy them for me as well.
After the petals gradually
Lin Ling
dispersed,
roared at the old
endless
man.
green light
The old man
sprinkled
was
down
shocked.
like a meteor
If he
shower.
did not know this kid,
So
he would have
beautiful.
thought that this kid was
This
his
scene
enemy.
undoubtedly
However,
shocked many
he
people
could understand Lin
because
Ling's
Duan Wuhan
excitement.
was also the most
All right,
beautiful
I'll person to display his talents so far.
Thank
This
you,
also
Senior.
meant that he had a
Also,
higher chance of
can you
getting
help
the
me
site
hide
than
this
the
news?
previous people. Duan Wuhan
I know
is
what you're worried
already
about.
so powerful.
No problem.
What if it's the
In the
seventh
end,
prince?
Lin Ling returned from
Suddenly,
a rewarding journey
someone
and
looked
looked
at
at the
God's
seventh
store
prince
with a smile
the
on his
seventh
face.
prince smiled and
Idiot,
walked forward
he's the
proudly.
only one who can
His
be so
talent was
proud
on
of
display.
making a smoke bomb.
This time,
Is he
countless
crazy?
people were
He
also
didn't buy
looking forward
anything
to
and
it.
he's so
Almost
happy.
at the same time,
Maybe
the
he
clover
can't find
swayed
any
slightly.
golden fleece flower
Then,
and he's
several
so
golden
anxious.
dragons soared
Seeing
into the
Lin
sky
Ling
and
leave,
intertwined.
many people
forming
said
a
with
huge
disdain.
golden dragon
This was
flower
because they
in
had
the
been
sky.
paying attention to
This
the jade
flower
tokens
was
in
so
their hands
huge
and
that it
saw
was
that there
even
were
more
no
magnificent
treasures
than
in
the
God's
ancient
city.
city. It could be
Therefore,
seen clearly
they guessed
from
that this
thousands
person
of
must
miles
be a
away.
smoke bomb.
Moreover,
Of course,
this
Lin
flower
Ling heard their
represented
laughter.
endless nobility
However,
and
he
glory.
was laughing even
This was
harder in
also
his
the
heart.
most gorgeous,
After a while,
most beautiful,
these people would
and
realize
even
that
the
there were no
noblest
more
flower to
treasures
date.
in God's
I'm
store
afraid
other
his
than the
talent
first
has
3
reached grade
items.
10. At that
Moreover,
time, would
his
they
flower
cry?
can fly so high.
TSKSK.
I'm afraid
I
his
heard that the
strength
immortal
is not
temple
weak
is
in the
planning
martial
to
god
marry
realm.
off their saintess.
The Clover
They'll
Elder
marry her
also
on the
shouted
spot
in
in
shock.
10 days. Wow, this is great news. His words
I heard
made
that the
countless
saintess
people's
has
pupils
obtained
tremble.
the divine
The
embryo
seventh
body.
prince was indeed
Whoever dual
powerful.
cultivates with her
As
will
for
have
the
a certain
seventh
chance of
he had his
obtaining the
hands
divine
behind his
embryo
back.
body.
He looked elegant as he
news must
slowly
be
walked
fake.
back. The immortal
Without a
temple
doubt, his
belongs to the
blossoming
immortal
immediately
demon
made the
alliance.
Tianhao lose their
How can they
luster?
let their saintess
He was the
marry
number
off
one
so
person
easily?
now.
However,
You don't know about
the Tianhao
this.
clenched their
At this
teeth.
moment,
Although
the
they
experts
could
from
not
the Heaven
compare
Alliance
to the seventh
and the Seventh
prince,
Imperial
at least
Alliance
they had not
have
been
joined
eliminated.
forces to destroy
After
the
all,
immortal
as long
demon
as they
alliance.
reach the 8th
If the
grade
immortal
ultimate
demon
desolate
alliance
body,
does
they
not
would
want
be
to be
qualified
destroyed,
to match
they
the
can
saint.
only marry
There were
off their
still 2
saintess.
more selections.
Moreover,
it was
the
too
immortal
early to
demon
determine
alliance
who
is
would
also
emerge
very
victorious.
cunning.
When
Not
their
bad,
saintess
not
gets
bad.
married,
They
next,
want to get some
let's
rewards.
proceed to the second
Therefore,
selection.
they've announced
Duan
that the
Wuhan's
saintess will
expression
marry
turned ugly
whoever
as
gives
he
her
said
the most
coldly.
precious treasure.
In terms of talent, he was
The immortal
inferior
demon
to the seventh
alliance
prince,
is too cunning.
but he was confident
That's
that
where
he
you're
could turn
wrong.
the tables in
I
the
heard
next
that
2
those are
selections.
betrothal gifts
Then
for the
let's
saintess.
prepare for the second
In fact,
selection.
a large portion
Seeing
of them
the
are left
restless
for the
looks of the
saintess.
crowd, the great elder could not
in
help
10
but
days,
nod his
something
head.
big will happen.
Just as he was
I
about
just
to
don't
continue
know who
speaking,
will become the
an
son-in-law.
indifferent voice
After
suddenly
all,
sounded.
that person has a
Hold
certain
on,
chance
I
of
don't think
obtaining
I've
the
displayed
divine
my talent
embryo
yet.
body.
The moment the voice was heard,
As he walked down the
everyone was
stairs,
stunned. Lin Ling suddenly
that,
heard a lot of
everyone looked
discussions
at the
around
person
him
who spoke and
the immortal
realized that it
temple
was
is
Lin
going to
Ling.
marry off
This
in
time,
Yue.
the Tianhao
When he
were
heard the
stunned.
news, Lin
This
Ling's
was because
heart was
from the
filled
beginning,
with
they
endless
had
killing
not
intent.
expected Lin Ling
He
to
almost wanted to
display
throw
any
the
talent.
curse of the gods that
Forget
was
it.
originally left
I estimate
for martial
that you are
god
at
Wen
most a
Tian to the
third-grade
immortal
talent.
temple. However,
The Tianhao
when he
said
heard the last
disdainfully,
sentence, the
he did not
spectators
hate the
outside
immortal
were
temple
also
as
getting
much as
impatient.
before.
That
This
guy
was
was
because
not a
although the
famous
immortal
Tianhao,
temple had
so he
opened
was
its
wasting
mouth
his
wide.
time. Those
A
betrothal
third-grade
gifts were
talent?
left for
That
Inyue.
does seem to be
From
the
this
case.
point, it could be seen that the immortal temple still doted on Inyue. However, they were forced by the experts from the Heaven Alliance to make such a choice in order to protect the immortal temple. Laughter could not help but ring out.
dignified
That guy was here to embarrass
would be
himself.
reduced to such a state
Unfortunately,
today.
they did not know that
was
Lin
also
Ling was
somewhat
indeed
emotional.
a third-grade talent.
In the past, so there was
the
no
immortal
need for
temple
him
was
to
an
deny.
overlord existence.
However, did he only have one
in the
type
face
of
of the
talent?
experts of
Let
the
him
final
show off.
world, they
Everyone
still
has
had
a
to
chance.
compromise and
The
surrender.
great elder looked at
10
Lin Ling
days.
with eyes full of
Subsequently,
disappointment,
Lin
but he
Ling's
also
mouth
secretly
outlined a
spoke up for
confident
Lin
smile.
Ling.
The
It was
great
time
elder
to bring
is
his senior
benevolent.
sister you back.
That kind of brat
Betrothal
will only
gifts?
embarrass himself.
The others were not qualified
I
enough.
doubt if he can make
With
this
the
thought in
three-leaf
mind.
clover bloom.
Lin Ling quickened
Seeing
his
that
pace.
the great elder had
Just
agreed,
as he left the
the
stairs,
Tianhao did not
a large
dare
number
to
of
object.
people came up to him.
However, after
These
sitting
people
down,
had
they
arrogant looks on their
immediately began
faces
to
and
mock
looked
and
very
ridicule.
happy. Most importantly,
must you embarrass
the person
yourself?
leading them was
The
Duan
seventh
Wuhan.
prince was drinking
There was no
wine,
doubt that
but his
Duan
words
Wuhan,
were full
as
of
the first
contempt.
bloodline of the Duan
Obviously,
family,
he did not
was
think
the
that
leader
Lin
of the
Ling was
Duan
his
family
opponent.
alliance. How could Lin
Young
Ling's
master,
flowers be
a
as
great
beautiful and
opportunity has
noble
come.
as his? If you can
However,
win the immortal
he did not
temple
intend
saintess,
to stop
you
Lin
can
Ling.
get a divine
In fact,
embryo
he
body.
even supported Lin Ling
The
to take
seventh
the
prince
test,
wants to compete
because only
with the
by
young
taking
master.
the test could he
He
let
should
Lin
look at
Ling
himself
know
in
how
the mirror.
lowly he was.
Behind Duan
Lin
Wuhan,
Ling, Several
As for
experts were
Duan Wuhan,
flattering
he
him.
also revealed
Duan
a
Wuhan's
sarcastic
face was
smile,
calm, but the
he
corners
knew
of
that
his
Lin
mouth
Ling's talent was
quietly
very
outlined a
powerful
smile.
and was not
Yes.
as simple as it seemed. However, he also knew that no matter how powerful
Chapter
Lin Ling was,
39:20.
he could not compare
Rumors
to
were
him
everywhere.
and Duan Wuhan. Go to God's
This was
store and
also
buy
the
all
reason
those
why he
treasures.
did not speak up
This
before.
time, even
He
if
was
I have
too
to go
lazy to
bankrupt,
talk about
I
Lin
must
Ling's
buy
talent.
these treasures.
Anyway,
It was just a
subsequently,
flash in the
Duan
pan.
Wuhan said
Under
confidently,
everyone's gaze,
comparing
Lin Ling
betrothal
also
gifts.
walked out
Who was
step
he
by step.
afraid of? His face was calm, was no match for him at all without ripples. They also sped up a bit and walked past secretly Lin Ling. Scolded Lin Ling for being shameless and pestering the saintess. Because Lin Ling had too many treasures on him, it was actually very easy to find a treasure that could conceal one's aura. Beside her, the great elder wanted to say something but stopped. At this moment in God's store, now, there were several people making smoke bombs one after another. At that pretending to inquire about the price of the treasures. Someone else. Let them get lost. His heart ached when he saw the saintess washing her face with tears immediately every day. Indifferently. Brat, his subordinates immediately drove those people away. Just say that your old injury is acting up today, and you are not allowed to use your realm essence. After seeing the old man, I will guarantee that you will enter the second round. Don't you know about the fruit of fortune? The great elder could not help but secretly send a message to Lin Ling. I heard that these three fruits have received the blessings of the gods. He looked at the elder with disdain and sent a message. Duan Wuhan's intention was to use these precious fruits to please the saintess of the immortal temple. There were only countless words of concern in his heart. However, he gets struck by lightning out of kindness. Although he knew that Lin Ling would be eliminated looked at the jade token in his hand and suddenly found that the still gave him a chance. The jade token had indeed disappeared. The brat asked him. However, before he entered, he deliberately looked at the jade token. At that time, the three fruits still existed. Is there a holy flower? Just as the great elder was about to fly into a rage, again. Lin Ling's voice floated over again. Don't you know about the red moon sacred array? What? Sold out? How could a third great talent be so arrogant? I just saw it before I came in. 100 flower kill? Hey, why did it suddenly disappear? He could no longer bear to see dumbfounded. As for Lin Ling, he had already called out the treasures, but the old man only replied with one sentence and was preparing his Dantian's talent. He immediately looked in the eyes of the crowd in his hand, but the treasures that were still there were suddenly three-leaf clover bloom. Is there a divine inheritance treasure? People could not help but laugh. Duan Wuhan was on fire. The flower he didn't believe that all the treasures were sold out. It was very dim and tiny. I do have that. Although it was rushing towards the legacy treasure do you want? It was like the light of a star. The old man asked indifferently. This was because this was Lin Ling's lightning Wuhan was just asking. It was the weakest. He could still afford to buy other treasures, but he couldn't afford doesn't even have an ultimate desolate great god's inheritance treasures. Many people rubbed their eyes. That was because it was 100 million golden that their stomachs hurt. He even suspected that there were more than 100 million golden fleece flowers. A new petal bloomed and rushed towards the sky. Well, I want the legacy of fire. All the laughter casually said again. It's only a third-grade ultimate desolate Duan Wuhan and said some people were surprised. This time, they still Duan Wuhan's jaw almost hit the ground. Was that all they were surprised by the inheritance of the gods? Before the green petal reached the sky, this had to be a joke, right? The three-leaf clover swayed once again. It was just that he had been staring at the jade token all along, flower bud but he didn't notice it at all. Into the sky again. Previously, could it be that this old man was lying? Dragon. Impossible. This time, no matter how arrogant the old man was, it was a fifth-grade joke about the gods. The central region meant that the old man was telling the truth. Everyone's eyes widened. Most of the things that caught your eye have already been bought. Even the seventh prince you can try to buy the 6 divine embryos. He never expected that this guy would be so capable. At this time, the old man suggested, the three-leaf clover swayed again. Duan Wuhan another flower soared into the sky. If he could afford the divine embryos, why would he marry the saintess of the immortal temple? This was not the end. While they were talking, following that, the ancient dragon desolate body also emitted not only a monstrous wave, but it was also because people found that the jade tokens in their hands had suddenly rushed into the treasures. 5 petals appeared in the sky. Not a single one was left. They were slowly blooming. Divine weapons, scattering. Not a single one was left. The entire city fell silent. More than half of them were gone. Those who mocked Lin Ling previously trembled. Do you still want to let people live? This was because this was the blooming of 5,000 golden fleece flowers to buy the blood trace demons of different colors. But now it's gone. After they bloomed in the sky, in vain. They formed a beautiful and flawless scene. My swallow divine knife. This was the only case of many people were about to faint from anger. Not a single one was left, but at least a mouthful of soup was left. I never thought I would be able to see the legacy of the gods blooming in my lifetime. Of course, the most shocking news was the most exciting legacy of the gods. It was rare to see someone with 5 like talents. A stone that stirred up now, he had only seen a martial artist with and kept guessing who bought such a treasure. The sky was so beautiful and gorgeous, among the overlords, like fireworks. No one had 100 million golden fleece flowers. Countless people looked up at the sky, afraid that they would miss the most beautiful scene in their lives. Such a precious treasure. The first elders' various overlords immediately passed down their orders. Without a doubt, at the sky they all got the news that the last person was more excited than anyone else, because after he appeared, all the treasures disappeared. Her smile was beautiful and moved because she knew that this was a flower that Lin Ling had given her. So many golden fleece flowers. She muttered to herself.
Keep harassing the
There was
Duan
no
clan's
flower
alliance
in this
during
world
this period
that could
of time.
compare to a
Damn
flower
it.
given
It's
by a
enough
lover.
that this guy bought the divine inheritance.
However, at this moment,
since he bought
a cold
all the divine
snort
weapons
suddenly
and divine
sounded,
arts,
interrupting everyone's
Duan
shock.
left me
It was
with no
the
way
seventh
out,
prince,
so I'll leave you with
he
no
drank
way
his
out.
wine and said disdainfully,
If there is a chance,
they are just
teach him a
ordinary
lesson.
flowers.
Many strong
so what
people
if they
were
bloom?
gnashing their teeth
He was
in anger.
obviously mocking
However,
Lin Ling for
at
his
this
low
moment,
talent level.
Duan Wuhan was
Although
angrier
he had
than
many
anyone
talents,
because he
they
didn't
were
buy
just
the treasures he
ordinary
needed.
flowers.
Instead, he
Hearing
bought some
this,
trash.
Lin Ling
It
turned
must
to
be
look
the
at the
seventh
seventh
prince
without saying
This
a
guy
word.
is really
In front
hateful.
of my golden dragon
He really
flower,
couldn't think of
yours
anyone
is
who
just
owned
an
such a
ordinary
golden
fleece
flower.
flower.
You
So
are
he
just a
guessed that
toad.
it was the seventh
The
imperial
seventh prince
alliance.
also looked at
Without
Lin
a
Ling,
doubt,
as
the
if he was
seventh
afraid that
imperial
Lin Ling
alliance
did
was
not
the
understand
scapegoat.
the meaning of
And
his
Duan
words.
Wuhan was the
If
one
one
who got
day
shot.
you realize
just
that yours
left the
is an
god store,
ordinary flower,
and a large
I
number
wonder
of
if you will
strong people
admit that you are a
immediately came to
toad?
make things
Lin
difficult
Ling
for
said
him.
calmly.
This also made
Do you
Duan
think
Wuhan
that is
confused
possible?
and angry. Hearing
Are you
this,
all looking
the
for
seventh
death?
prince laughed
Why
loudly.
are you making things
His
difficult
laughter
for me?
was full of sarcasm.
You know what you have
It was
done.
a joke. Bang. Almost at the
Those
same
strong
time,
people were
Lin
so
Ling
angry
gently
that they had
stomped his
lost
foot
their
on the
minds.
ground. The
I know
three-leaf
what I have
clover
done.
swayed crazily.
I don't know shit.
Golden
I
light
bought
shot
a treasure,
into the sky,
but I didn't buy what I
endless
liked.
imperial might.
As a result,
It was as
I
if
bought
the
a bunch
human
of
king
things
had
that I didn't
descended.
like. Rumble.
You are angry,
A
but I
bright
want to be
shooting star
angry.
rushed into the sky.
Duan Wuhan felt
Then
even
it
more
bloomed,
wrong,
sprinkling
as if he
down
had
the
nowhere
world's
to
most
vent his
beautiful
anger.
bud. It was
Duan
brilliant
Wuhan
and lit up
although
the
we
sky.
don't dare to kill you.
This flower
It's not
was so
difficult
big
to teach
that it
you a
occupied
lesson.
the entire
Hearing
ancient
Duan
dragon
Wuhan's
wasteland.
words,
Those
this
strong
was the
people
divine
thought that
fetus,
Duan Wuhan was
the
teasing
flame
them,
of the
and
human
they were all
king.
mad.
When my
Then,
flower blooms,
they were too lazy
hundreds
to
of
talk
flowers will
nonsense
die.
and directly
At
taught
this
him a
moment,
lesson.
it was
At
fully
this moment,
displayed
on
and
the other
shocked
side
the
of
world.
the Dead Sea,
Rumble.
Lin Ling didn't
A
know about
deafening
this.
sound rang in the
He
sky.
had already found a
The
quiet
sky
place
was
to
filled
wait
with
for
the
the
arrival
arrival
of
of
10
10
days.
It was beautiful
Senior
and
apprentice
romantic.
sister Yu,
It was
hers
completely
divine
reflected
fetus
in
body
everyone's
has
eyes.
obviously attracted the attention of many overlords. However, they want to snatch with me. Chapter
Lin Ling
39
originally wanted to
34.
make a fortune in silence.
Her heart
but
began
this matter
to
was
ripple.
related to a
Even though she was
Therefore,
pure and
he
indifferent
also
to
threw
fame and
caution to the
fortune,
wind.
she was
At that
truly
time,
moved at this
he would
moment.
use endless
This was
treasures
because
as
that was
betrothal
the
gifts,
flower her man
smashing
had
those
prepared
people
for
who
her.
attempted to
It was
escort
also
the
the
bride until
flower
they
for
were
his
too
proposal.
ashamed to show their
Her
faces.
man had once said that
Of
he would
course,
marry her
Lin
again
Ling
today.
also knew that the
And
wedding
now
10
her
days
man
later
had done
was
it.
bound to be a
He had done it
sensational
with all
event.
his heart.
There would be countless
this life,
strong people.
to have a man who
Therefore,
would protect
in
her
these
like
10
this,
days,
what was
he
there
had
to complain
increase
about
his
in life?
strength as soon as
Looking
possible.
around, the entire
Especially the
place
human
was silent.
sovereign's flame.
Everyone was
Fruit
attracted
of
by the
good,
gorgeous
fruit
scene
of
in the
fortune,
sky.
fruit of
It was
fate.
as if a
He had
huge
already
silence
gathered
had
enough.
descended.
With the
No one
blessings
opened
of
their
these
mouths
fruits,
or spoke.
refining the human
This was
sovereign's
because
flame
all of
should
this was
not
too
be shocking.
difficult.
And
Especially
beside the
Lin
seventh
Ling,
prince,
the
and
giant
Duan
ghost
Wuhan,
floated there
they
quietly.
remained silent for a
On
long
that
time.
fanged face,
10,000
there was also a
wise
hint of
floated in their
expectation
hearts.
at this moment.
That was because the
Refine.
final golden flower, judging from its appearance and height, was actually twice as
Chapter
large and proud
39-21.
as the seventh prince's flower.
Refining the flame
And the
of the
seventh
human
prince's
king.
golden dragon
In
flower
Lin
was a
Ling's
10th
10th
grade
the
ultimate
golden
desolate
flame
body.
emitted
Could
endless
it be
majesty.
that the resplendent
It kept
golden
circling
light and the huge
dancing,
flower
and
formed by the
finally
golden
quietly
flames
turned
was
into
the
divine
figure of an
fetus?
emperor? However,
Once this
the immortal
emperor
temple
appeared,
had
everything in the
one of
world
the
seemed to be
divine
assimilated,
fetus in
and
God's
Lin
shop.
Ling's body naturally
Confused,
could not
they
escape this
immediately
fate.
became confused. An extremely
fact,
majestic
even elder
aura
three
rushed
leaves
into
found
Lin
it
Ling's
hard to
body,
be certain,
causing him to
He
frown
only knew
slightly.
that on the surface,
But at this moment,
the huge flower
three
formed
fruits
by the
floating
golden
around
flames
Lin
was
Ling in the
indeed
three
more
directions
beautiful
of
and
heaven,
bigger than the
earth,
seventh prince's
and human
golden
began
dragon
to burn.
flower.
Mysterious words
this was
floated
only
out,
one of the
forming
reasons.
a scene of heaven
Most
and
importantly,
earth.
protecting
Even if
Lin
Lin
Ling,
Ling's final flower
Lin
was
Ling
not a
instantly
divine
sensed
fetus,
that the assimilation
just the
pressure
six
had
blooming
lessened.
flowers in the sky.
He also
forming
immediately
the scene
knew
of the
that this
five
was the
flowers
power
holding the
of the
moon
three
was
fruits.
enough to shock the
As
world.
expected of
This
the
was
blessings
because
of the
6
gods.
different talents were
It was not
blooming
in
at the
vain
same
that
time.
he had spent so
It's
much
fake.
effort to obtain
Fuck,
these three
it's
fruits.
definitely fake.
And with the scene
In
of
the
heaven and earth evolving, Lin Ling no longer felt any pressure. To him, he began to try to get closer to the flame of the human king. This was because he had once lost as if it had a spirit, so he knew the flame of the human king emitted circles of golden flame had not reached such blocking Lin Ling from getting closer. Even if Lin Ling's strength had greatly improved over this period of time, it was impossible for him to improve by such a large margin. Now you're still arrogant. Saying that my three-leaf clover is shouted in his heart. Hearing Duan Wuhan's power controlled his consciousness to get closer, and then he controlled the flame of the human king to push it toward the space-time tablets, and he couldn't bear to be questioned by others. That belonged to the space-time tablet was originally colorful, somewhat difficult but it gradually became because he was not sure and resplendent. But if Lin Ling had a divine embryo, he would not believe it at all. In the end, when the flame of the human monarch completed was an
completely
innate
merged with his
talent that could allow one to become a god.
Entire
How
body
could a
burned.
mere Linling
It was a
have the
golden
qualifications
flame,
to
but it was
obtain
not an ordinary
It should be
golden
known
color.
that even Duan
It was a
Wuhan,
golden
as the
color
number
that
one
carried the
bloodline
might
of the
of an
Duan
emperor.
clan, didn't
The
have the
surrounding
opportunity
Dead
to
Sea
obtain
was
it.
completely
What
burning at this
qualifications
moment,
did Linling
turning
have?
into a golden color. The entire sea seemed to be controlled
Regardless
by
of whether
Linling,
it's true or
and
not,
this was the
for now,
assimilation
the
power
flower
of the
he
human
displays
king's
is the
flame.
most beautiful.
According to legend,
Isn't that enough?
the most terrifying
But
human
right at
king's
this moment,
flame could
the voice
assimilate
of the temple's
everything
grand
in the world,
elder suddenly
turning everything
drifted
in the
over,
world
and
into
it
the
actually
human king's
carried a
people.
wisp of praise.
Rumble.
And
Outside
such
of
words made
Linling's
people
body,
nod their heads
golden
reflexively.
flames danced and
Today
boiled,
was a wedding
transforming
ceremony,
into
not
a
a
tall
test of
Dharma
strength.
idol of a human
Therefore,
king. As long as
this
one had a
Dharma
certain
idol
level
was
of
also
talent
golden
and could
in
make
color,
the
and its
proposal more
appearance couldn't be
beautiful
seen
and romantic
romantic
than the
but
others,
it exuded
that was
an
enough.
irresistible majesty.
The way I see it,
If
this
the masters
young
of
friend
Shen
should be
San
number
Hall were
one
here
in
at
this
this
selection
moment,
of talent,
they would be trembling
that
in
no
fear.
one spoke.
This
The
was
grand
because the
elder of
might
the immortal
emanating
temple
from the Dharma
suddenly
idol
laughed.
was already
His
at the
eyes
level
also
of a
looked at
divine
Linling,
embryo, and the smile
According
at
to
the corner
legend,
of his mouth
only those
suddenly
with
became
divine
thicker.
embryos could become
Previously,
gods.
he was still afraid
After
that
an unknown
Linling would
period
go
of
and
time,
lose face.
Linling
He was
finally
even
opened
afraid
his
that
eyes.
Linling would
A
be
golden
eliminated,
light flashed
so he
in the depths
secretly
of his
helped
eyes.
Linling. Divine
However,
embryo
the
body.
result was that Linling had told him to get
Linling
lost.
was stunned
At that time,
because he realized
was so
how
angry that
terrifying
his
the power
beard was
brought
blown
about
up.
by the Dantian
What a
was.
junior who did not
He was
know what was
confident
good
that he
for
could
him.
defeat a
But
first-layer
now,
martial
he
god
almost
realm
hugged
expert
Linling
with the
and
golden
kissed him a
glow,
few times.
even without using
This
the
guy
innate
really
talent
did not
merged
disappoint.
or the flesh of the
He is
godly
number
demon.
one. Very
Hearing
strong.
the Grand Elder's
This
words,
was the flame
Tianhao
of the
felt
human
disbelief
sovereign.
and anger.
Then,
What was
Linling looked around
unbelievable
and
was
realized
that the
unknown
ocean of
existence
death
had turned
actually
into
made
a
the
golden
three-leaf
ocean.
clover release
Even the
such a
desolate
divine
trees
scene.
in the ocean had
What
changed,
was angry was
becoming
that the young man
dazzling
was
with
above
golden
all
light.
of them.
This
However,
was the power
before
of
they could release
assimilation.
their unwillingness,
The human king's
many
flame
voices
was the
of
first
agreement
flame
had
that
already
the human
sounded
king
around
had
the
brought
ancient
to the human
city.
race. If we
Therefore,
talk about the beauty
tens
of the flower,
thousands of people
that
had
person
submitted to
deserves
it,
to be number
including
one.
the ocean
Yes.
and the desolate trees.
Yes.
Beauty
Rise.
without losing
Linling
nobility,
let out a low
vulgarity
roar,
without
his
losing
voice
mystery.
filled with endless
The
majesty.
6 blooming flowers
Rumble.
each have their own
Huge waves
characteristics.
immediately rose
It is
from the
indeed
ocean
rare.
of death, which
He
was
is number
controlled by
one, I
Linling.
concede.
It was as if
Yes.
the power of the ocean
Even
of
some
death was
experts from the
Linling's
Overlord
power.
Alliance were
The human
nodding their
king's
heads
flame,
at this moment.
in addition to its
This made
powerful
the
attack,
Tianhao clench
also
their teeth,
has such
and
a
none of them
remarkable
spoke.
ability.
Duan Wuhan
Exclamation
also
point.
angrily sat back
Linling
down.
knew very well
when he
how
looked at the
terrifying
seventh prince
assimilation
again,
was.
he was undoubtedly
For example,
more furious
if a wisp
than
of
Duan
Linling's
Wuhan.
flame was
His
left
gaze
in a
was
martial
fixed on
artist's
Linling.
body, the
However,
flame could
Linling
immediately
was still looking
assimilate
at the sky,
everything, making the
when a
martial
gradually
artist
dimmed,
submit to
he
it.
turned and walked
Moreover,
back to his
not
seat.
only the martial
If
artist,
at some point
but
you realize
everything
that
in
you
the
are the
world
flower,
could submit
I
to
wonder
it.
if you will
And
admit
this
that you
was
are
the
the
power
toad?
of assimilation.
Yes.
What if it
However,
wasn't assimilated?
A soft voice,
Linling
filled
pointed
with
his
disdain
finger,
and
from the depths
domineeringness,
of his
drifted
dantian
out.
a wisp
Hearing
of golden
this,
flame
the
shot
seventh
out
prince
like a
was
meteor,
stunned,
and
the
his
golden
heart
flame
exploded.
quietly landed
Previously,
on the ground
he had
in front
mocked
of him,
Linling as
Crackle,
a flower and
the
a toad,
ancient ground in
but
front
now,
of him,
his
with a
golden dragon
radiance of
flower
10,000
paled in
miles,
comparison to
instantly
Linling's.
burned.
Then who
The
was the
golden
toad?
flame soared into the
Linling's
sky,
words were like
as
a
if the
fatal
human
sword
king
that
was
pierced
furious.
deeply into the seventh
Moreover,
prince's heart,
this flame
causing
had
him
no
to
sense
lose
of temperature,
face and
but
suffer
anything
the
that approached
greatest
it would
humiliation.
immediately be burned
And he was a
into
participant
nothingness.
of the trial.
As expected
When had he
of the
ever been
human king's
humiliated
flame.
like this? At this moment, the giant ghost also floated
Amazing,
back.
this
Because
person
the three
actually
fruits had
stomped the
already
seventh
turned
prince
into
down.
nothingness.
How
He no longer
domineering.
feared the power
Everyone
of the three
immediately
fruits.
sensed the seventh
And the way
prince's
he looked
cold
at
aura,
Linling had also
and they were
changed.
all shocked.
It was as
Then,
if the youth
many
of the
people
past
looked
had
at
become
Linling,
a god at this
and their
moment.
expressions became
This
complicated.
was the power of a god.
Until now,
They
after
still
the
did
era
not
of
know
gods,
who this
tens of
mysterious young
thousands
man
of gods
was.
fell.
It felt
After
as if
this
this
era
young
of
man
gods,
had appeared
the
out of
gods that
nowhere,
rose up
as if he had
became
come
fewer
from
and
another
fewer.
world.
But now,
Moreover,
there is finally
this
a god
mysterious
that
aura
rose up
was not
quietly
fake.
here.
This was
giant
because the
ghost
young
said.
man's confidence
The giant
came
ghost
from
said.
the bottom of his
He
heart.
could faintly see
the
that
aura of a
Linling
person
would
in a
definitely
superior
become a god
position
in the future.
unknowingly spread out.
Linling,
and he was
this is the
unfazed
power
by
without
anything.
the fusion of talent.
talents.
This aura of a person in a superior
all
position,
your talents will
if
be
one
led by the
carefully
human
sensed
king's
it,
flame,
was even
and your
stronger
strength will
than the
greatly
seventh
increase.
prince. The giant
Divine
ghost
fetus?
said again, "Does he really have a divine fetus?"
In response,
That's
Lin
hard
Ling
to
nodded
say.
heavily.
Only the
After
three
the battle
leaves
with
elder
martial
knows.
god Wen Tian,
After all,
his
he was the
confidence
one
had
who
increased by
cultivated the
another
three
level.
leaves grass. A divine fetus
This was because
no
he had the
small
divine
matter.
embryo.
I just don't know
In
if
the
it's
ancient
innate
dragon
or acquired.
desolate land.
If it's
Other
innate,
than in Yuer,
then it's even
he was
more
the second
terrifying.
martial artist with
Many
such talent.
old monsters who had
Demigod
cultivated
divine
for
pill.
10,000 years whispered to
However,
each other.
when he thought of the fated
difference
battle,
between innate
Lin
and
did not
acquired
dare
was
to
huge.
slack off.
Just like the
He
difference
immediately
between
took out a
acquired
pill.
divine weapons
This
and
pill
innate
looked
divine
extremely
weapons.
simple and
Innate
unadorned.
was the divine
Those
fetus
who did
of the
not
era
know
would
would think
think
that it was an
and was
ordinary
blessed by
pill.
the heavens.
This was because
Acquired
this pill
was
did
did
not
not
have
have
any
fetus
pill
that was
markings,
continuously
nor did it have any
cultivated
pill
by
light.
oneself.
However,
In today's
Lin
world,
Ling knew
there
that
were
this was
many
a true
people who had
pill from the
acquired
era of
divine
gods,
fetus
because it was
such as
bought
the
from the
9
store of
provinces,
gods,
10 martial
demigod
gods.
divine
But
pill,
those who had
formed
innate
from the
divine
will of a
fetus
god.
were as rare
In
as
reality,
phoenix feathers
it is
and
the
Qilin
condensation
horns,
of a
such
god's
as the current
understanding
immortal
of the
temple
grand Tao.
saintess.
Of
The
course,
giant ghost
this did not
also
mean
looked
that
at
the
acquired
divine
pill.
fetus was
It seemed to have
inferior
heard
to
of
a
the
demigod
divine
fetus,
pill before.
but among acquired
In
divine
reality,
fetus,
this
at least
pill was
99%
formed from the will
of them
of a
could
god.
not advance to
However,
innate divine
to form
fetus.
this pill, it
It's Lin
required
Ling.
30% of a god's strength. Therefore, this pill was extremely rare. After all,
No god was willing to give up
30% of their
comparing
strength.
Status.
Generally
For
speaking,
example,
unless
an
it
old
was
man
for their
hidden in the
descendants,
crowd
they would
recognized
be willing
Lin
to
Ling.
use this
He was the
strength.
first leader of the
Therefore,
place of
the giant
eternal
ghost
rest.
guessed that this
One
was a
Yen
pill
Shusher was
prepared
killed
by the
in the
gods
past.
for their
So the
descendants.
first leader of
However,
the place of
due
eternal
to the
rest
sudden
was
arrival of the
determined to
calamity
kill
and
Lin
the
Ling.
fall of many
However,
gods,
he
this
did not
pill was
expect
not
Lin
able
Ling
to
to have
display
grown
its
to such a
effects.
level.
In the end,
As for the
it was
Duan
passed
family
down
and
for
the people
countless
of the new heavenly
generations
courts,
and fell into
they
Lin
naturally
Ling's
knew
hands.
about Lin
The
Ling.
power of this
They
pill
also did not
increased
expect
the chances
Lin Ling
of
to be
ascending
so
to
powerful.
godhood by 80%.
They always thought that in
Moreover,
the ancient
from the
dragon
day of
wasteland,
swallowing the
Lin
pill,
Ling would
the
be
martial
eliminated
artist
by the
would need to
merciless waves
continuously
like
devour
duckweed.
heavenly treasures
Alright,
and accumulate
next
them
is the
to
competition
increase their
of
chances
status and
of ascending
background.
to godhood.
In my opinion,
the more they
these two are
accumulated,
about the same.
the higher their chances
Why don't we
of
do it
ascending
together?
to godhood.
At this
In
moment,
the end, it would
a
reach
cold
80%,
and domineering voice
with
suddenly
one
sounded,
batch of pills,
interrupting
even the
everyone's
tribulation
thoughts.
of gods would
Everyone
not descend.
immediately looked over
Without the
and
tribulation
realized
of
that
gods,
it was the seventh
and with an
prince who
80%
spoke.
chance of breaking
At this
through,
moment,
this pill
everyone
could be
could
said
see
to be
that
a
the 100%
was a
chance
little
of entering the
impatient.
martial god realm.
Moreover, he proposed to raise the last 2 selections at the same time.
Chapter
This meant that he planned to turn the
39:22.
tables and
The 10th
eliminate
day.
all the Tianhao
This
families.
caused an endless
An
amount of
invisible
spiritual
pressure
energy to
quietly
surge into
permeated
the
the
vortex
air.
and gradually
the Tianhao
accumulate.
families immediately
The moment
gritted
it was
their teeth.
unsealed, although
This
they never
spiritual
thought
energy
that they
would
would
become the
match for
main
the seventh
force
prince,
to become
they
a
still
martial
felt
god.
that they were lucky.
Upon realizing
However,
this,
now
Lin
this
Ling
feeling
did
of
not
luck
stop
was
and
weakening.
frantically
I'll go
refined the
first.
Emperor crystal.
Under that huge
Other than
pressure,
the 100
a
million
Tianhao
royal
family
crystals he had
suddenly
left
stood
for
up.
himself,
Although
Lin
he was
Ling
confident
had
that he
used
was
up
not
all
as
his
good as
royal
the seventh
crystals.
prince,
He
he
would
had
not
6
wait to be
stanchions,
captured.
so it was 60
Obviously,
times more
although
difficult
Lin
for him
Ling
to
had
become
taken
a
first
martial
place
god
previously,
than an ordinary
the Tianhao
person. families
One of
still
the
did not
reasons was
think
that
he was a
Lin Ling's
match for
talent
the
was
seventh
too
prince.
high.
When
From
all of
Ling
the Emperor
Tian
crystals
Academy,
were used
the
up,
12th strongest
Lin Ling
circle
threw
in
a
the
large
entire
number
divine
of treasures
free
into the
halls.
vortex.
The 332nd
Currently, he
on
was
the
strong
stairway to
enough
heaven
to fight
and
a
the
martial
6th talisman god paladins.
However, if he
My
broke
father
through to
is
the
the
martial
Duke of
god
Heavenly
realm,
Yu
what
in the
would his
Black
combat
Flying
strength
City,
be like?
one of the 36
Lin Ling
main
simply
cities
did
in the
not
world.
dare to imagine.
With my status,
Now,
strength,
I'll start to
and
break
reputation,
through to the martial
I'm
god
definitely
realm.
qualified
Once
to marry
I leave
the
the
celestial
ancient dragon
temple's
desolate
holy
land,
land.
I'll
The
completely
Tianhao
undo
family
the
stood
pill.
up and said proudly,
Lin Ling licked
"The
his
son
lips.
of a duke."
Next, he checked
Everyone
all the treasures.
immediately started
Murder
discussing.
clothes. Such an
Two
identity
dragon
was
balls.
indeed
Ray
extraordinary.
Flaw.
Especially
Lin Ling
the
laughed
320th on the
These
stairway to
treasures
heaven
were prepared
this
for
was
his
a golden
great
signboard.
innate gifts.
Disgraceful.
The ominous robe was
but
the
very
ominous
quickly,
robe of the
another
gods.
Tianhao stood
According
up
to
and
legend,
looked at
it was
everyone with
worn by the
disdain.
butcher who was
He
in
even looked
charge of
past
punishing.
Lin Ling.
After
Then,
tens of thousands
his gaze
of years,
turned into a
it had
desire
already
to battle,
accumulated
and
an endless
finally,
amount of
disdain.
ominous energy.
I'm from Wu
As
Wei
for the
Academy,
Dragon Balls,
which is
they were
ranked second
prepared
among
for
the
the
36
36
gods' innate
academies.
talent.
I'm ranked
As
for
for
the
the
malevolent
most
spirit
powerful
laws.
circle,
They were
I'm
naturally
ranked
for the malevolent spirit jellyfishes
stairway to
use.
heaven on the divine
If I
list.
refine all of
I'm
them,
the holy
all
knight
of my
of
talents will increase by 1 grade.
My father
In addition
is the
to
governor
the flame
of the 72
secondary
my
cities,
strength will undoubtedly
that's why I'm
increase
worthy
crazily
of the
in the
Saintus.
ancient dragon wasteland. Lin Ling hurriedly
Also,
refined those
I'm
treasures
one of the
one
leaders
by
of the
one.
Heavenly Alliance.
Unfortunately,
this
God's
person's
store didn't
status
have
was
many
clearly
of the
higher
treasures
than
he
the
needed.
previous person.
Otherwise,
Get out
his
of here.
power would have
Then
increased even
Tian
more.
Hao shouted
Of
angrily
course,
at that
this
person.
was enough. That
This
person
was
gritted
because
his
the
teeth
current
and
Lin
sat
Ling
back
was
down in
completely
shame.
different from when he
Following
first
that,
arrived.
a large number of heavenly magnates
One
started
treasure
shouting.
after another was
Some of them
refined.
were sons of
First
main
of all,
cities, the
while others were
realm-swallowing
leaders.
beast talent was
All
enhanced.
in all,
The
it
fact
reached
that
the
these
6th
Tian Hao
grade,
cultivators
and
were
the skin
here
of
meant
chaos
that
was
they had
born.
extraordinary
This caused
backgrounds.
Lin Ling's defense
Lin
to
Ling, I'll go
increase by
first.
another 10%.
Use your ears and
Boom.
listen carefully.
Next, let me tell you, talents of the two dragon gods competition of talent, the Grand Netherwind Dragon reached the third grade, and the Heavenly Dragon Bone, a majestic voice interrupted the competition of all the Devil Ghost Jellyfish had also stepped into the ranks everyone's attention. This time, his 4 great talents were enhanced at the same time. He slowly walked out and walked toward Lin by 20,000 boundary force. His speed also increased by 2,000 boundary force for a moment, and then revealed mocking smiles. They obviously knew that the fact that the human king's flame was of a different attribute and was used to increase the power of one's world essence and had nothing to do with one's physical strength. Lin Ling's strength would have risen to an even more terrifying level, then stared at the fusion of talents. He wanted to crush Lin Ling face to face and make Lin Ling feel inferior. The number 1 bloodline of the Duan family will definitely surpass the Duan Meridian Martial God through his entire body. What Duan Meridian Martial God? With a light flick of his finger, he's one of the top 10 martial gods in JoJo. Would collapse. Duan Wuhan, I'm a triple cultivator of essence. However, Lin Ling's eyes were half closed. Currently, as he calmly drank his wine. Is about to reach the martial god realm. Duan Wuhan did not have any strength. Has also reached a whole new level. He felt happy because he knew that Lin Ling could not refute him. It's constantly improving. I'm a master of the E garden, martial god realm. 36. I'll be able to completely open my 7th San Hall. And 291st opened his stairway heaven, full of anticipation. Duan Wuhan's voice was louder and louder. Looked at the time and found that 9 days people of the Duan family immediately laughed and felt proud of Duan Wuhan. His breakthrough this time was incomparably fast. They obviously knew Duan Wuhan should know that it was impossible for others to raise the number 1 bloodline of the Duan without at least half a year or even in the final world. Moreover, this was considered fast. But no one thought that Duan Wuhan would rush to the 200th place on the stairway heaven in such a short period of time. This speed was too fast. So your breakthrough glanced at the crowd and saw the awe in everyone's eyes. Lin Ling was thinking. His arrogance soared to the sky. However, then he looked at Lin Ling and shouted anticipation. And I'm one of the leaders of the Heaven Inheritance treasure is like. I can summon 3 million heroes. Inheritance treasure was the essence of a god's life. Are you perhaps feeling everyone inferior? Would be curious about what was inside the rolling momentum. At the mention of this, spread out Lin Ling's as if to drown Lin Ling. He immediately took out the god's inheritance treasure because he had been waiting for this day for a long time. Treasure was extremely strange. Lin Ling was like a small boat in a storm, nor was it a treasury. He seemed to be silent. Instead, but he was drifted with the waves and was not drowned. Fortunately, he was still drinking divine runes weren't complicated. Moreover, according to the old man in the god shop, as long as the divine runes were drawn with world essence, so it was equivalent to ordinary people who knew of Duan Wuhan's origin and guessed that the treasury was actually inevitably have thoughts of resistance. The divine runes were the key to opening the void. In the end, they could only feel inferior and recalled the divine runes in his heart, the blue-robed young man was not shocked even if the sky collapsed. The sky in front of him from beginning to end rumbled as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. However, at this moment, perhaps his heart and the giant ghost were filled with anticipation. Using drinking to cover up what the treasury contained. People were talking about it. However, more people could see that Duan Wuhan was not only showing off his proud identity and achievements, but he was also targeting Lin Ling. It seems like your strength isn't enough. As if he wanted to defeat Lin Ling. The giant ghost suddenly guessed something. Could it be that Duan Wuhan and Lin Ling had a secret that no one knew? I estimate that you need to be at least at the martial god realm. No matter how proud you are, in my eyes, you are just a defeated opponent. Hearing this, Lin Ling was extremely unhappy. You know this better than me. He almost wanted to ask the martial god opened his mouth of the god Slayer, but he was still drinking wine. However, after thinking about it, he gave up in the end. From Duan after all, because no matter how Duan Wuhan showed his identity and achievements, there was one fact that could not be changed. One day left, and that was that he was prepared to go to the immortal temple. In the battle of Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. Tong Tian Tower, he left the Death Sea with the giant ghost. This was a result that could not be erased. The raging golden fire words were very ordinary to others. No one dared to approach it. It was like a sword piercing his heart. Walked out from the golden flames. Duan Wuhan stepped beside him was an evil spirit the size of a fist. The shame that had been hidden in his heart rippled at this moment. That senior species pit, you ate it very well. All over the Kaiyuan River and finally found you. The young man had delicate features. He was wearing a long blue and white robe. His eyes were filled with dragons and tigers, and Yuer had gone missing in the 9 prefectures, 7 great forbidden lands in Qingzhou. One had to know that for traveled thousands of mountains and rivers to search for her thing. And however, he had done very well. He finally found out that Yuer had been taken away by the immortal temple. Forgotten and suppressed by him. Lin Ling was just an ordinary warrior in Qingzhou. because
Compared
after
to
being
the 9
mentioned by
prefecture's
Linling,
10 perils,
it was as if
he was
the
like
scar
a
that had
dim
just
moth.
healed had been
However,
torn open
moths
again.
were sometimes
so stupid.
Duan Wuhan
They
took
knew
another
that they
step
would
back.
die if they jumped into
His
the fire,
body continued
but they
to
still
tremble.
did not shirk
This
their duty.
change had undoubtedly
However,
shocked
there were
everyone,
exceptions to
because
everything.
this result was too
It was not
strange.
impossible for a moth to be
Linling hadn't
reborn
announced
and
his
turned
identity,
into a phoenix,
or perhaps he didn't
after
have an
so many
identity at
years.
all. Linling
However,
had
his
finally
words
turned
were
into
more
a
effective
phoenix.
than any
For this
impressive
day,
battle
he had
record.
worked hard for
He
a
had
long
defeated
time.
Duan Wuhan
Finally,
and forced
he
him
could
to
personally
retreat.
bring home
His
the girl
heart
he
of
had
martial
known
arts
since he was
seemed
young.
to have become unstable.
The Yu and the others have been waiting for
really
you for a long
terrifying.
time. People's
The young
impression
man
of
gradually
Linling had
disappeared,
also changed.
walking further
It became
and further
self-confident,
calm,
although the 10th day had yet to arrive.
unruly.
The west side of the ancient
you've
dragon
lost
wasteland
face.
was already
At this
bustling
moment,
with noise.
the 7th prince
Currently,
suddenly
there
spat
were
out
not
a
many
sentence,
treasures left
causing
in the
Duan
divine
Wuhan
store.
to glare fiercely
Moreover,
at Linling.
there were very few
However,
golden
he
fleece
also
flowers
retreated
left
in
around the
dejection.
wasteland.
He
Therefore,
knew in his
most
heart
people
that
did
before
not go
he could
out.
completely wash
If it was
away
not
the
for the
shame,
fact that they
all
wanted
his
to know
proud
which
achievements
hero
were
would
just
be
a
able
joke
to
to
marry
Linling.
the immortal temple
After all,
saintess and
no
obtain
matter
her
how
favor,
powerful a
they would have
defeated
left
opponent was,
long ago.
he was still a defeated opponent.
The 10th day has
I
finally
said,
arrived.
let's compete in
At the
identity
west
and
side of
background.
the ancient
Come
dragon
on.
wasteland,
At
there
this
were
moment,
many people
the 7th
moving
prince
forward.
also
stood up and swept his eyes across the crowd. I don't want to introduce my
Chapter
identity too much.
39:23.
You only need to know that I'm the
Slaughtering
leader
chariots.
of the 7th
Yeah,
Alliance.
if it wasn't for the fact that
200
God's
on the
store
heavenly
was booked,
stairway, the Overlord Alliance
Next,
would still
let's
be fighting.
compete in background.
That's right, but
The
the battle
7th
is
prince
over.
regarded himself
Let's
as
end
the
it with
leader
the
of the
marriage
crowd,
of the
and
immortal
had already
temple
decided
saintess.
on the next
Speaking
selection.
of the saintess,
He did not
I've
even
seen her
bother
before.
to introduce himself.
She's so beautiful.
However,
and she has a
80%
divine
of the people
fetus.
present knew who he
Whoever
was.
Dual cultivates
Although
with
Duan
her might
Wuhan's
become a
alliance was
divine
more
fetus.
powerful.
The Sky Alliance, he was just
becoming
a
an
leader
expert
of the
in
Sky
one
Alliance.
step.
Although
Look,
the 7th
those
Alliance
young
could not
masters
be
and
compared to
princes
the
are
Sky
all here.
Alliance,
How
the 7th
coquettish.
prince was still the
Hee hee.
leader.
How could
In
those
terms of
lazy young
alliance,
masters
Duan
who don't
Wuhan
want to
was
cultivate
obviously
miss
more
out on this
powerful,
opportunity
but
to
in
reach the
terms of
heavens
identity,
in a single
the
bound?
7th prince was
Just
actually
a bunch
more
of toads.
outstanding.
The
This was
passers-by
also
were
an
discussing
imperial
with
disdain towards
just
those
like
young
the purple
masters
dragon
who wanted
robe
to
he
reach
wore.
the heavens
It was
in
the
one
image
step.
of the monarch of all
Indeed,
monarchs.
toads want to eat swan meat.
The so-called
Behind
competition
the
of
crowd,
background
a
is
blue-robed
also
young
a
man
competition
walked
of
forward with a
betrothal
bodyguard.
gifts.
After
Immortal
hearing the
Temple's
words
holy
of the
lady has a
passers-by,
divine
a
core
mocking
body.
smile
Only
appeared on
heavenly
his face.
deity treasures
He
are
was
worthy of
Linling.
her.
Linling
by
was
step,
surprised by
the
Inuer's
7th prince
popularity,
stepped forward
but
and looked at
Linling
wasn't
wasn't
worried.
His
Because he
domineering
knew that
eyes
Inuer
were filled
belonged
with
to
a
him,
hint of gentleness.
Linling.
Following
Men,
the main
bring
road,
me the ninth
Linling
heaven
discovered
phoenix
that there
robe.
was an ancient city
Suddenly,
in front
he
of
let
him.
out a loud shout.
Although it looked simple,
in the sky,
it was extremely
the cry of a
prosperous.
phoenix resounded.
Moreover, through the conversations of passers-by, they found out
An
that this
old
was
woman
built by the
arrived with the
7th
9
Emperor
heavens
Alliance,
phoenix robe
because the leader
shimmering
of
with
this
golden
alliance
light,
believed that
causing
since
the
the
phantom
Phantom
of a
actually married
nine-colored
immortal
divine
temple's
phoenix
holy
to float
lady,
in the sky.
then they had to be a bit
This was
more
an
dignified.
8th-grade divine
They
artifact.
naturally couldn't be
This
careless
is the
about this
7th
matter
prince's
in the
betrothal
wilderness.
gift.
Although
Many
everyone
people
knew that
gasped
the
because
7th
the
Emperor
9
Alliance
heavens
was
phoenix
purposely
robe was
showing
made
off,
from the feathers
having
of
a city
9
was
different
better
phoenixes.
than nothing. It was
What a
extremely
grand
rare,
display,
especially
Linling
after the 6
couldn't help but
phoenixes.
shake his head.
The next, the
7th
7th Emperor
phoenixes were
Alliance
even
wanted
harder
to build
to
an
find.
ancient city
If this
to show
9
their
heavens
sincerity.
phoenix robe was placed
Go.
in the shop of
As
God,
for the main
it would
road
cost
leading to
3
the ancient
million
city,
golden
a
fleece
large number
flower.
of luxurious
The 7th
chariots
prince
galloped
marrying
past.
the holy maiden.
Some were pulled
Is
by
this all
fire
you've got?
cheetahs, while others were
However,
pulled by
at this moment,
magnificent puppets.
someone shouted
As
loudly
for the
and
chariots,
confronted the
they were
7th
also
prince.
magnificent.
It was a tin house.
Clearly,
The
mine
people
is a
sitting
rare
inside
treasure,
were
the
extremely
sky-shaking
noble,
bell fruit.
as if they were above
Anyone
the
who
masses.
consumes it will greatly
Linling
increase
watched
their
their
strength
strength
within
pass
2
by
hours.
with a disdainful
They will be
smile.
able to kill
These
any
famous
half-step
young
martial
masters
god
were
and
like
can
nouveau
even fight
witches.
against an
Did they
early
think
stage
that they
martial
could
god.
marry and
It is worth
just because
5
they had a
million
luxurious
golden fleece
chariot?
flower. One had to
Yours
know that
is only
Linling
a
could
divine
easily
weapon.
get tens of
How can it
thousands of
compare
chariots
to my
like
rare
the ones
treasure?
from before.
The tin
In terms
house
of
stood up like a
extravagance,
divine general.
Linling would say that he
His
was
body
number 1.
emitted
No one
boundless
would
energy.
dare to say they were number 2.
too. It is merely a sky-shaking extravagances present. The seventh prince walked towards a newer step by step with his hands behind his back. A platinum chariot rushed over from behind. Men, the one pulling the chariot was actually a exquisite flower. A real dragon. This flower is worth 8 million golden fleece flower. Its aura, it contains the power of the universe and can destroy heaven and earth. Perhaps because it had been enslaved for too long, divine treasure. Its eyes were filled with hostility. Rainbow formation diagram. Using an evil dragon comparable to a martial god to pull his chariot. Martial artists, this person is quite heroic. If you cultivate with this diagram, the passers-by were startled and quickly made power of all attributes. They knew that this person's background was 9 million gold fleece flower. Roar. Men, the evil dragon galloped forward, divine pill, stirring up endless clouds and winds. This pill can make you a martial god with a 50% chance. Do you want to die? The seventh prince spoke one sentence noticed after that there another, were two people in front of the road who didn't give way. Meanwhile, one was a burly man and confronted the seventh prince, and the other was a young man in a blue robe. Without leaving not only did the young man in blue not give way, every time they brought up a treasure, and frowned the seventh prince would calmly fight back. Since he was in the middle of the treasure, one could easily imagine his tycoon. Using a dragon to pull the seventh Emperor Alliance's leader, in the middle of the road although many of the people present were Tian Hao like the owner of the Emperor Alliance, but he knew that the seventh prince was definitely of the evil dragon. They did not expect him to have accumulated so many golden for a long flowers. However, could it be that he is the one who bought the divine inheritance treasure in the end? The nine heavens, even the old monsters in the ancient city had the talent of the dragon god. They saw that all the dragon were defeated by the seventh prince. He immediately felt they could not fight back at all. You're courting death, because those heavens conquerors only had one treasure, and the more powerful ones only had two. An old man pointed at Lin Ling and cursed. However, young Master Windchaser prince had almost 10 treasures, and I want to marry the immortal temple. No one would easily give away the immortal dares to block my divine body. After the old man's voice, at this moment, another shout came. A faint laughter as if he was afraid that others didn't know who he was. His voice was extremely loud. Like all the Tian Hao, he would not give up until the last moment. Many people's expressions is indeed domineering. There are many people who want to marry the immortal temple saintess, and three rare treasures. Only those with the total value of the qualifications to go to the immortal temple coins. Those with a name list all have great backgrounds. An old man frowned and said, "Compared to seventh prince stopped and turned to look at Duan Wuhen still in disdain in his eyes. However, I'm not convinced." Someone else spoke. "You are not the only one with treasures." Still didn't leave. Duan Wuhen also showed his fangs. At this moment, give me a martial breakthrough divine watch any longer. This pill has a 10% chance of producing divine power. Meat paste. It is worth 8 million. At this moment, it is a rare treasure. Dragon suddenly roared and stopped the third-ranked divine it was art less than 5 meters away from the youth. Fairy divine art. The strong wind blew the divine art is a method to become a god. However, the world origin profound uncultivated is comparable to the power of ancestors. Lin Ling also looked at the evil dragon in front of him indifferently. Men, the evil dragon was also staring at Lin Ling. This garment is made from 9,999 different types into a look of reverence. When the great tribulation descends, your freedom, the wearer can resist. Lin Ling also understood the meaning in the depths of the evil dragon's eyes. Then his sword flashed. These are my betrothal gifts to the saintess. The chains that bound the evil dragon were actually cut off by a single slash. At the end of his words, Duan Wuhen opened his hands and one had to know that this was a chain that could bind the martial god. Ancient city everyone was also exploding. Then this was because Duan Wuhen's treasures could be said to be priceless. Even a martial god would go very obedient to the youth, and 30 million golden sky like a flying dragon. No one immediately flew into the distance. But one thing was for sure, it disappeared without a trace. Was definitely the entire road immediately and such a betrothal gift was enough to stared at the crowd and marry the saintess. This was because not only did Lin Ling make the dragon stop, he even seemed to be able to command the dragon. Chapter this 39, was somewhat inconceivable. Who will get the treasure? Do you have a death wish? How dare you let go of my mount? As long as the saintess marries him, at this moment the saintess' treasure also came from the luxurious war chariot. Let's see how the seventh prince will fight. As soon as the words were spoken, many people began to whisper. They looked at the central region where the treasure was instantly cut into two halves. Each of them licked their lips and were extremely figures in a sorry state rolled out of the war chariot. Opened their eyes. It was an extremely comical sight. They had not come in vain. Cutting a chariot in half. This was indeed the case. That blue-robed youth was too arrogant. In the central region, everyone's eyes narrowed. All kinds of colors soared into the sky. This was because they knew that those who had a name list would definitely have an extraordinary expression. Was still calm. Cutting their chariot indifferently at Duan Wuhen and said, "Sir, Duan Wuhen, are you all right? Do you really want to fight with me? Do you have a death wish?" Seventh prince, soon, if it were anything else, man from the battlefield helped a youth. However, if it's someone I love, coldly I will never give way. The saintess looked at them indifferently. My life. His expression was as calm as an ancient well. Pain that I wish I were dead. Long sword in his hand, he looked and looked affectionately at Muir as he said, "Haha, that's nice to hear, but do you think you can beat me?" The seventh prince said again. His words made Duan Wuhen's expression change. He had already taken out a treasure worth 30 million gold fleece flour. Did the seventh prince still have other treasures? However, whatever he was worried about, it came. The fruit of immortality, a rare treasure. One is worth 20 million gold fleece flower, and the great void golden phoenix body is worth 25 million gold fleece flower. The owner will have 2 great talents. Most importantly, this is the ultimate 10th grade desolate body. The 7th prince sneered disdainfully. He opened his hands. In his left hand was a gray fruit, and in his right hand was a golden light. In that light, there was a phoenix cry. The fruit of immortality? A fruit that could make a martial god expert immortal. This represented a life. In the 9 states, it was enough for martial god experts to fight for it. Looking at the great void golden phoenix body, this was the ultimate 10th grade desolate body. It was simply an existence that could let an ordinary warrior achieve the ultimate 10th grade desolate body. The 7th prince's move was terrifying. Adding it up, he had taken out 65 million gold fleece flower. Bang! Looking at the 7th prince in disbelief, Duan Wuhan's heart immediately roared. His complexion changed greatly, and he was so shocked that he took a step back. Obviously, he did not expect the 7th prince to be so generous as to take out 65 million golden fleece flower. So what? You still want to fight me? Seeing Duan Wuhan's appearance, the 7th prince smiled disdainfully, but his voice was like a brilliant heavenly might. Under the heavens, who can fight against me? The 7th prince looked at all the heavenly magnates. They immediately lowered their heads, not daring to speak. Who else but me? At this moment, the 7th prince fully demonstrated the meaning of these 4 words. Who could compete with the 7th prince? There was no one. All of the heavenly elites, including Duan Wuhan, had gloomy complexions. They knew that the divine embryo body had already left them. When they thought about how the saintess had fallen into the hands of the 7th prince, they felt as if their hearts were being cut apart by a knife. The surrounding people were also extremely shocked. Numerous exclamations of surprise continued to resound. This guy is really domineering. The sword of freedom martial god said solemnly. Then, he stared at the treasures of the 7th prince and subconsciously licked his lips. Because those treasures were so precious that even he was moved. If the 7th prince did not have a strong background, he might have snatched them. Next, he also looked at Lin Ling in the distance. He knew that Lin Ling was probably very dispirited at this moment. After all, in terms of status and background, Lin Ling was defeated. He could only watch the beauty leave with his own eyes. However, since the start of the status competition, people had subconsciously ignored Lin Ling again. The main reason was that compared to those famous people, Lin Ling did not have a strong background. Naturally, he would not have the golden fleece flower to buy any treasures. The sword of freedom martial god also began to search for Lin Ling. However, when he looked carefully, his eyes could not help but twitch fiercely. This was because when the heavenly tycoons were fighting for the treasures, Lin Ling had somehow arrived beside Yuer. Furthermore, the 2 of them were whispering and chatting happily. It was as if they were watching a clown competing with each other. Fuck me, this kid. Damn. The sword of freedom martial god was dumbfounded. That kid is too bold. Of course, after the 7th prince crushed all the heavenly tycoons, the crowd also shifted their attention to Yuer. In their opinion, Yuer should be tempted by the treasures too. However, the moment they saw it, they were all dumbfounded. That was because the shameless young man had appeared beside Yuer again. He was holding the saintess' hand and helping her put on a set of blue armor. Most importantly, the saintess did not reject his offer. Speaking of which, does that kid even know the rules of the bridal escort ceremony? Everyone's heart was pounding. They knew that the kid was definitely going to receive the wrath of the heavenly tycoons. Especially the 7th prince. At this moment, the 7th prince smiled proudly. After defeating all the heavenly tycoons, he turned around and looked at the saintess with a smile. As expected, he was enraged too. How dare you? Roar! A furious roar burst out from his mouth. His boundary force rumbled as if he was going to kill Lin Ling. The roar attracted everyone's attention to Lin Ling. The entire ancient city fell silent. The rules of the bridal escort ceremony were to select the participants. Currently, the seventh prince was the winner. According to the rules, he should be the one to hold the saintess' hand and bring her home. Not the kid who disobeyed the rules. Idiot. Ah. Duan Wuhan was startled too. He then laughed coldly. He assumed that Lin Ling had lost his mind. He must have lost his mind and forcibly held the saintess' hand because he knew he was no match for the seventh prince. However, could that change the outcome? It was obviously impossible. Do you know what you're doing? The saintess is mine. Roar. The seventh prince took a big step forward and shouted angrily. His voice finally interrupted the conversation between Lin Ling and An Yue. Lin Ling also looked at the crowd. Previously, he had seen them fighting and ignored him again. Therefore, he was too lazy to care about them. Let them fight. He, Lin Ling, was going to catch up with senior sister Yu. Now that everyone was looking at him, Lin Ling knew that it was time for him to make a move. A domineering aura quietly emanated from his body. His gaze swept over the crowd, and he said indifferently, "I've never understood. The Holy Maiden and I love each other, and we're in love with each other. Why do you want to separate us, and even organize this wedding ceremony? Isn't this the same as breaking up a pair of lovebirds? Could it be that all couples in this world were like this? They loved each other but couldn't be together because of reality?" The voice drifted out like an invisible wind. The seventh prince was stunned. He didn't get angry again. Instead, he laughed. It was a mocking laugh. The crowd was also stunned. Then, they all laughed disdainfully. Chapter 39-38. This is my moment. In this world, strength was everything. If one wanted to be with the person they loved, then one needed to have the corresponding strength and status. As for the blue-robed young man, he obviously didn't. He even said these words because he knew he was going to lose, so he found these excuses in an attempt to use love to cover up his incompetence. You're trash and you're blaming others. How can a trash like you talk about love? Many people began to curse. However, Lin Ling acted as if he didn't hear them. He continued indifferently, "You don't like her at all. You're only interested in her divine body." What's ironic is that this group of toads are righteously saying that they love her and are moved by her. Toad? Hearing this, the Tianhao clan was enraged. This useless guy didn't even have a single treasure. He was weak and useless. How dare he call them toads? Ha, you can hide it all you want, you pauper. The seventh prince could not help but laugh out loud, his eyes full of contempt. The blue-robed youth wanted to marry the Holy Maiden empty-handed. This was simply a joke to him. He believed that no one would agree. On the contrary, everyone felt even more disdain towards the blue-robed youth. What are you laughing at? Do you know where she came from? Do you know her birthday? Do you know what she likes? You don't know anything. You think you can move her heart with some treasures. Lin Ling said indifferently when he saw the seventh prince laughing. I don't know anything, but I have a treasure. The seventh prince was still smiling, but his aura was overbearing. There was only one reason. I'm richer than you, I'm more capable, and I have a higher status. That's enough. A so-called poor loser like you still wants to fight over a woman with me? You really don't know your limits. That's right. Treasures are enough. Do you have any? You can only take out one set of armor? How embarrassing. Many Tianhao clan members also laughed mockingly. Although they had lost, at least they had treasures that were much better than Lin Ling's. Hearing this, Lin Ling finally shook his head. A bunch of filthy people. No wonder so many couples in the world have been separated. It was originally pure love, but it has been polluted by these things. All that is left is profit. Therefore, it is even more impossible for me to hand over the saintess. I want to protect her for the rest of my life. As soon as the last sentence was spoken, the surrounding voices suddenly became much softer. In the crowd, the Three Leaves elder suddenly laughed. Compared to the treasures, he suddenly liked the youth's sincerity. The great elder also laughed. He knew that if the Holy Maiden were to marry the seventh prince, it would not bring her happiness. She would only be used. However, if she were to marry that brat, it would be true happiness. Of course, there weren't many people who had such thoughts. On the contrary, more people couldn't help but burst into laughter. Not hand over the holy maiden? Just him? Ha! However, just as the crowd was laughing, Lin Ling suddenly laughed as well. A heroic, domineering, and magnanimous aura emanated from him. It was as if he had vented all the gloominess in his heart. I know that you filthy people will never understand. Therefore, I do not intend to take the holy maiden away by force. Because I, Lin Ling, cannot do it. More importantly, I want the whole world to know that the holy maiden is my woman. Lin Ling took a step forward and enunciated each word clearly. His long hair and blue robes fluttered wildly. Many people frowned. Actually, let me tell you, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. It is not to prove how great I am, but to let my wife, and Yue, return home openly. Why have I been waiting for a long time? Because I want to take the holy maiden away in front of all of you. I want you to know that filthy people like you will never have the right to take my wife away. Shameless people like you can only watch from afar. How ironic. More importantly, I want to tell you that this moment is my moment. Lin Ling roared loudly. His powerful aura shook the ancient dragon wasteland, causing the wind and clouds to surge. At this moment, he was like an unsheathed divine sword, revealing its sharpness. Come, bring the betrothal gifts. Following Lin Ling's loud shout, his entire person seemed to rise infinitely. He looked down upon the heavens, his head touching the sky, and his feet stepping on the ground. With his command, thousands of troops came to meet him. The army was pressing in. The God Extermination Alliance had arrived. From all directions of the ancient city, a vast and mighty crowd slowly walked over. In their hands was an item. Treasure lights soared into the sky, and spiritual energy gushed out. 100,000 people, each with a treasure. At this moment, no one was unmoved. 10,000 silkworms golden alms bowl, divine wood alms bowl, purple bamboo basket, lone dragon zen skill, scarlet jade skill, soul absorbing bottle, 7 treasures amethyst worship, 6 true essence gourd, red desire pouch, 9 heavens primordial young ruler, laser ruler. When those people came closer, an old man spoke in shock. The divine weapons category had obviously been bought out. Entangling sacred steps, boundless tyrannical art, bone-eroding dragon finger, ferocious tiger demon fist, burning city dragon spear art, ice silkworm demon transformation, flying swallow Buddha killing technique. Those Tianhao all sat on the ground in fright, their faces pale as they muttered to themselves. The divine weapons were bought out again. Immortal fruit, Feng Yun immortal fruit, Lin Ling vine fruit, scarlet flame immortal fruit, blue spirit fruit, ice spirit fruit, 3-leaf golden Ganoderma, elixir of the North Sea, 9-leaf Ganoderma. Another old monster roared in horror. Although that group of people did not buy out the rare treasures category, they had already bought more than 60% of them. Could it be that that group of people are the ones who caused the commotion in God's shop? Everyone held their breaths, and their hearts roared. There was even a moment when many powerful martial artists almost took action to snatch the items. However, they also saw that those 100,000 people were all experts with terrifying auras. In the end, they did not dare to act rashly. That is one of the remaining overlords of the ancient dragon wasteland, the God-slaying alliance. Finally, the leader of the overlords said each word. The entire city was in an uproar. The God-slaying alliance was one of the most mysterious overlords. It was said that they had countless leaders and experts, including the former overlords, the Genesis Alliance, and the Serpent Clan. The God-slaying alliance was also a miracle in the ancient dragon wasteland, because they were the representatives of the overlords who grew from weak to overlords. In the end, they even destroyed Fengyun Tower. They had been hiding in the ancient dragon wasteland, but no one dared to underestimate them, not even the 7th Emperor Alliance. But now, this terrifying overlord had finally surfaced. Greetings, great leader. While everyone was still in shock, all the members of the God-Slayer Alliance suddenly stopped in the sky above the ancient city. Then, They let out a loud roar that shook the 9 heavens. Great leader? This time, everyone was shocked. They followed the gaze of the god-slaying alliance and fixed their eyes on a young man in a blue robe. And he was the young man beside the saintess. It's him. Yes. The shocked gazes of everyone silently transformed into disbelief, and their expressions were extremely complicated. There was terror, surprise, dejection, and disappointment. Chapter 39-39. Evil Intentions. In the ancient dragon wasteland, everyone already knew that the God-Slayer Alliance had a leader behind the scenes. This leader was extremely powerful and had gathered countless experts to sweep through the ancient dragon wasteland. He had turned the God-Slayer Alliance from a small existence into a great overlord step by step. Therefore, everyone was curious as to what kind of person had such an ability. And now, all the mysteries had been solved. It was Lin Ling. This guy is the great leader of the God-Slayer Alliance? Endless ripples arose in the unrestrained sword martial god's heart. Clearly, he did not expect that the young man he met in Plentiful City back then was actually so terrifying. And now, in terms of status, Lin Ling wasn't inferior to anyone. Who could compete with him in terms of background? This moment was clearly Lin Ling's glorious moment. How can this guy have so many golden fleece flower? Compared to everyone else's shock, the 7th prince was undoubtedly the one who was truly astounded. This was because only he knew the terrifying value of the treasure that Lin Ling brought. The divine weapon category, the divine category, and more than half of the wondrous treasure category. He had even bought the first category of divine legacy treasures. The amount of golden fleece flowers required for this was something that could not be obtained without over 100 million golden fleece flowers. Previously, he had been arrogant in front of Lin Ling. At this moment, he felt as if he had given himself a ruthless slap. Liar, this is fake. While everyone was still in disbelief, the 7th prince suddenly let out a loud roar and interrupted everyone's shock. That's right, it's definitely fake. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, I didn't expect you to be so shameless as to use fake things to trick people. Duan Wuhan also pointed at Lin Ling and let out a sharp cry, because he also couldn't accept the reality in front of him. After all, he knew Lin Ling's background better than anyone else. Lin Ling was just a student of the Snow Wind Academy and was born in the Qing province. How could he have the ability to summon the God-Slaying Alliance? Moreover, he believed that if Lin Ling could do it, then he could do it too. If all of this is true, how about you eat feces again? Lin Ling also looked at Duan Wuhan and Duan Wuhan. He naturally knew that these two would definitely not admit to it. However, no matter how they quibbled in front of the powerful facts, they would only embarrass themselves. Do you dare? Lin Ling's aura was aggressive. Duan Wuhan's pupils constricted, and he didn't dare to speak. Young master, don't be afraid of him, we believe in you. However, the powerhouses of the Duan family, who didn't know the truth, actually supported Duan Wuhan. Not only that, but they were also fiercely glaring at Lin Ling. This made Duan Wuhan almost curse out loud. If you have the ability, go eat feces. Although he was tough with Lin Ling, in reality, he was also a little afraid of Lin Ling. Do you dare? Next, Lin Ling looked at the 7th prince. The 7th prince's eyes were as cold as a sword. He was different from Duan Wuhan. He had never been in contact with Lin Ling, so he had strong confidence in himself. I was born in the purple chi since I was a child. Since I was a child, I have known the great Tao of the universe, I know the principles of fate, and I know the cause and effect of heaven and earth. So I know that your treasures are fake. He said each word with incomparable confidence, because he really didn't believe that Lin Ling would have 300 million golden fleece flowers, and because he was very clear that the number of golden fleece flowers in the entire ancient dragon wasteland was definitely not 300 million. At best, it was only 100 million. This was what another trial taker had told him, and it was also something that the god had inadvertently revealed. He believed the words of the god 10,000 times. Unfortunately, he didn't know that the ancient dragon wasteland really didn't have 300 million golden fleece flowers, but Lin Ling bought them at half price. This meant that he only spent 100 million golden fleece flowers, but bought 300 million treasures. Bullshit. At this moment, Lin Ling also shouted at the seventh prince. His words made the seventh prince furious. This Lin Ling actually dared to scold him? Seventh prince, these treasures are all real. At this moment, a large number of elders in the immortal temple had already flown out to check the treasures. Following that, they shouted in disbelief. Moreover, some of the old monsters around also flew out to check, and their faces turned serious. This made the seventh prince's body tremble. His eyes widened, unable to believe this result. How could this be? How could this be? He kept shaking his head in his heart. Weren't you born in the purple chi since you were a child? I think you grew up in a cesspool. Also, didn't you know the great Tao of the universe since you were a child? You know the principles of fate, and you know the principles of karma? In my opinion, you're just a dog's mouth that can't spit out ivory. While the seventh prince was still in shock, Lin Ling also spoke indifferently. Every word was like a sword that stabbed into the seventh prince's heart, deeply humiliating him. As for Duan Wuhan, his face was ashen, and his eyes were gloomy. Lin Ling, there are a lot of treasures. Today, Lin Ling must not be allowed to escape again. Moreover, he must snatch all the treasures. Because with Lin Ling's treasures, even the immortal temple's saintess divine fetus body would not be needed. He should snatch all of it. The more Duan Wuhan thought about it, the more his eyes burned. He quietly notified the others. Following his notification, a large number of experts arrived from a distant place. There were more of them than the God Slayer Alliance. This change was also noticed by the people in the ancient city. Their faces changed greatly, and then they looked around. Suddenly, their eyes fell on Duan Wuhan. Could this be Duan Wuhan's idea? It's the Heaven Alliance. Some experts narrowed their eyes. It seems that the Heaven Alliance is not going to abide by the rules. They're using tyrannical means to seize everything. The Heaven Alliance is the strongest. They have 3 million people. The God Slayer Alliance can't compare at all. Many people had guessed Duan Wuhan's intention. 3 million experts had arrived. This meant that the God Slayer Alliance's treasures would be difficult to protect. Even the saintess of the immortal temple would be snatched away. This guy, the great elder of the immortal temple, was naturally not a fool. He was so angry that he cursed loudly. That guy was too shameless. He couldn't compete with others, so he used such despicable means. Quickly tell him to leave. Take all the treasures and leave. Subconsciously, the great elder of the immortal temple transmitted his voice to Enuer. Enuer's beautiful eyes stared at the distant sky, but she had obviously guessed something. She hurried to Lin Ling's side, held Lin Ling's hand, and was just about to remind him. It's okay. They're just a bunch of clowns. However, before Enuer could speak, Lin Ling had already replied indifferently. His words were full of confidence. But he's already harboring evil intentions. Enuer was still very worried. Believe me. Lin Ling turned his head and glanced at Enuer. Those clear eyes were as calm as an ancient well without ripples. In the end, Enuer nodded gently because she and Lin Ling had grown up together. She knew that Lin Ling had already seen such a big scene. In the wind and rain, Lin Ling did not know how many times he had broken through. Lin Ling, there are so many treasures. Chapter 3940. The Sky Alliance had arrived. Yes, are you not convinced? Lin Ling replied with a smile. However, with your knowledge and experience, this should be the first time you've seen so many treasures in your life. Look at these treasures now. It's good to broaden your horizons. You can brag about it when you go home. Duan Wuhan could hear that Lin Ling was mocking him for his insignificance. He nodded his head heavily and stopped talking because he was going to shock Lin Ling and even make him regret it. Using treasures to suppress Duan Wuhan? These treasures would all belong to the Sky Alliance. Could it be that this guy hasn't realized it yet? The seventh prince's eyes flickered slightly because he found that Lin Ling didn't run away. Instead, he had the leisure to reprimand Duan Wuhan. Could it be that he didn't realize that the people of the Sky Alliance had come with bad intentions? Regarding this, the seventh prince naturally wouldn't remind him. He was happy to see it and even looked forward to seeing Lin Ling regret and beg for mercy. Unfortunately, Lin Ling had been in contact with Duan Wuhan for so many times. How could he not know what Duan Wuhan was thinking? Lin Ling even had a countermeasure for this. The leader of the God Slayer Alliance, I've heard so much about you. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly broke the silence. Before the experts of the Sky Alliance arrived, a middle-aged man suddenly walked toward Lin Ling with a smile. It's the Zizai martial god. Many people's eyes lit up immediately. Senior martial god, I've heard so much about you. Lin Ling's eyes flickered, but he immediately understood the intention of the Zizai martial god. He immediately cupped his hands and bowed. He knew that the Zizai martial god wanted to support the God Slayer Alliance and fight against the Sky Alliance together. The leader of the God Slayer Alliance is so charming. Many people also noticed the intention and said in amazement. Duan Wuhan was stunned and then gritted his teeth. That old man, Zizai Sword, is courting death? Isn't he going against the Sky Alliance openly? Then he sneered and looked forward to it even more. Even though the alliance was powerful, it was an alliance of the Duan clan, the new heavenly court, and Miao Shen's true lineage. Why would they be afraid of the alliance? However, as soon as this thought appeared in his mind, a clear voice rang out. The reason it was clear was because this voice was very refreshing and carried the vigor of a young man. I didn't expect that the great leader of the God Slayer Alliance would be so young. He's really young and promising. He's so much better than those trash who rely on their families. Following this, a young man wearing a clean white robe and holding a long spear in his hand slowly walked toward them from the ancient city. The young man did not look old. Moreover, he was full of energy. As he walked, he gave off a fierce aura. As for his strength, it was extremely ferocious. He was actually a martial god. The most important thing was the spear in his hand. It was a silver spear with red tassels on it. It was as divine as a dragon. That's the 100 Victories spear. Could he be? Someone suddenly exclaimed in shock. The seventh prince's face turned ugly. He looked at the white-robed young man angrily and said, Wuhaonan, what is the meaning of this? Hee, seventh prince, don't think that you're so powerful. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Wuhaonan, am not. The young man smiled faintly. Although his words seemed casual, they carried a boundless aura of sharpness. He had said that he was not afraid of the seventh prince in front of so many people. In the current ancient dragon wasteland, other than Lin Ling, he was the second person to do so. Moreover, both of them were so young. The young man walked toward Lin Ling step by step. Then he cupped his hands at Lin Ling. Lin Ling was also surprised. This was because he realized that the young man was extremely powerful. Most importantly, he looked as young as himself. This person has a divine fetus. The giant ghost beside him quietly transmitted his voice. This caused Lin Ling's heart to rumble. An expert. It seemed that he was still a frog in a well. He had thought that his strength and age were at the top of the world. However, the young man in front of him was not much weaker than him. Wuhaonan. The white-robed young man smiled at Lin Ling and said, the great leader of the Tiandi League. The moment he said this, the ancient city exploded. The only remaining overlords in the ancient dragon wasteland were the Heaven Alliance, the Immortal Demon Alliance, the Seventh Emperor Alliance, the Unrestrained Sword Alliance, the God Slayer Alliance, and the equally mysterious Tiandi League. These alliances had gone through the baptism of wind and rain. All of them were extremely powerful, and their great leaders were dragons among men. However, today, the Tiandi League, which was as mysterious as the God Slayer Alliance, had also surfaced. Moreover, their great leader was also so young. This was obviously a rising star that was as terrifying as the God Slayer Alliance. Everything was as the great leader had said. Among the remaining overlords, the only great leaders who had started from scratch were him and Lin Ling. They could not compare to Duan Wuhan and the Seventh Prince. This was because their alliance was the strongest overlord from the beginning. They did not need to put in any effort at all. It's an honor to meet you at last. Lin Ling was shocked again. He immediately bowed and looked at him inquisitively. Lin Ling was also very polite to this overlord. The main reason was that the other party was very polite to him. With Lin Ling's temperament, he naturally would not neglect the other party. However, what made Lin Ling suspicious was why the other party had come out. I don't get along with the new heavenly court. Therefore I'm on your side. Wei Haonan smiled and stated his purpose for coming. Could it be that the Tiandi League has also joined the Godslayer Alliance? This means that the Godslayer Alliance, the Unrestrained Sword Alliance, and the Tiandi League have become allies? Seeing this, everyone held their breaths. 3 overlords joining forces. This was an extremely rare thing. Moreover, they had joined forces for Lin Ling alone. This Lin Ling's charm was too great. Compared to everyone's surprise, Duan Wuhan had already sensed it. This was because the Heaven Alliance and the Tiandi League had actually clashed many times in the ancient Dragon Wasteland. They could be considered old rivals. However, it had to be said that although the Tiandi League did not have many members, each of them was an elite. This had led to them not being able to bite down on this tough bone until now. Now, the Tiandi League and the Godslayer Alliance had joined forces. Both of them were thorns that gave the Heaven Alliance headaches. It was obviously not as easy for the Heaven Alliance to destroy the other party. Obviously, he did not expect things to take so many twists and turns. At the same time, 3 million experts had arrived. There were experts from the Duan family, the new Heavenly Court, and the Boundary Masters from Yao Shen's true teachings. They surrounded the ancient city. A strong murderous aura quietly filled the air. Lin Ling, long time no see. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.